Aloha, the March 25th, 2026 Neighborhood Board number 34 meeting is called to order. Welcome to our Makakilo. My name is Anthony Paris, and I serve as your board chair. We are holding a hybrid meeting and have community members here at Hale in person and online via WebEx. For order and decorum, if you wish to speak, please raise your virtual hand or your in-person hand, and the presiding officer will recognize you. We kindly ask that you introduce yourself to our neighbors and only address any comments to the chair. If I miss any hands in person or online, please get attention of our neighborhood board assistant, Mr. Jeffrey Jones, or anyone really, and just throw some markers at me and I'll get to you. Speakers have 3 minutes to comment on any item this evening. Those giving reports this evening may take up to 10 minutes, and we have a special presentation this evening that will be 25 minutes long, so we only have scheduled that one presentation this evening. The other presentation has been rescheduled. So all of the materials circulated to board members are available in our fancy Google Drive. And if you have any electronic devices that goes off with beeps, rings, or otherwise any types of serenades, please put them kindly on mute. And if you are on WebEx, please put yourself on mute unless you're actually been recognized and can speak to the chair. This is our community forum, and everyone is asked to engage with the spirit of aloha, be free to vigorously debate any of the agenda items. Remember to treat each other with respect, especially when you're passionately advocating, and let's honor each other by keeping to the allotted times and collectively finishing our forum in a timely manner. So at this time, Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, let's get rolling. And we will ask the neighborhood board assistants to do the roll call.
Okay, board members, when I call your name, please use your microphone. For those online, please unmute your microphone online when I call your name. Board member Bossler? Here. Board member Dudley? I see your name, board member Dudley. Are you able to unmute your microphone? If not, I'll mark you present as I see you online. All right. Board member England?
Here.
Ferreira? Not seeing online. Board member Hale? Also not seeing online. Member Lidstone? Not present. Member Medeiros? Board member Ta'ala? Also online.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Chair Pierce?
Awesome. Thank you very much. We have quorum. We can get rolling with reports. First off, this evening is Honolulu Fire Department, and they are here in force this evening. So welcome, and please introduce yourself to our community. Mahalo.
Good evening. I'm firefighter 3 Sonia Duplessis.
I can't hear anything.
Okay. Good evening. I'm firefighter 3 Sonia Duplessis from the Makakilo Fire Station. The report for February for the neighborhood board is 1 structure fire, 3 brush fires, 11 nuisance fires, 3 cooking fires, 27 activated alarms, other emergencies, 184 medical emergencies, 4 motor vehicle collisions, and 1 ocean rescue. The safety tip for the month is smoke alarms. Smoke alarms save lives and are an important part of the home fire escape plan. Properly installed and maintained smoke alarms give occupants early warning and get outside quickly. Smoke alarms should be installed in every bedroom, outside every separate sleeping area like a hallway, and on each level of the home. Test smoke alarms at least once a month by pushing the test button, and replace all smoke alarms when they are at least 10 years old or stop responding when tested. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your report. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns for our wonderful first responders, HFD? from the board or the community? Okay. No hands, you're off the hook. Thanks so much. You have a great evening. Mahalo. Okay, let's go with HP. I believe they're on WebEx this evening.
Aloha Board Chair, members, and audience of Kapolei. I have the crime stats for February 2025. Also online with me is Acting Sergeant Roland Payan. Motor vehicle thefts for February, there were 23 in our district, 10 in Kapolei. Burglaries, 12. Kapolei had 3. Thefts, 103. For the month of February, Kapolei had 47. Motor vehicle break-ins, 27. Kapolei had 9. Total citations issued in our area was 1,133. Total calls for service, 7,950 in our district, 2,613 in Kapolei. And just to address the concern a gentleman had last month about traffic violations on Kalailoa Boulevard, I looked up the citations from the last board meeting till today, and in that area, we gave 165 citations, and that includes speeding and other moving violations. HPD will continue to do traffic enforcement to ensure traffic awareness and public safety. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, mahalo for the report. Any questions from the board? Seeing no hands in person or online. Any questions from the community? Go right ahead. Come up and introduce yourself to your neighbors.
Good evening, officers. My name is Mike. Going back with the report with Kalailoa, it's like, thank you for your service, but it's still like no improvement. Honestly, this morning, me and my brother almost got into an accident, and the guy just like cut in front of us within less than 10 feet. And he just drove maybe over 50 miles per hour. And I was like, wow, just shaking my head and cussing about it. But you know, I appreciate you guys' service, but I think you guys have to be in a Campbell industrial area by at least by Costco gas station area and the Hawaii hardware Hawaii store. 'Cause there's a lot of people that do illegal turns too, like red lights. Oh, normal traffic, they just want to take the left or right turns and just go through the red light.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Our officers, the patrol officers do go out there and they do enforcement in that area. Unfortunately, what we've always seen was everybody seems to obey the traffic when they see the blue light and the officer over there. We can try and get a hold of our traffic division and see if we can get maybe the solo bikes a little bit less visible. Maybe they can start coming out there. But again, unfortunately, officers go out there and they call off and say that they're out there and everybody behaves, and then as soon as they leave, we start getting calls about people speeding again. So, but I do appreciate it, and we will let the patrol guys know to keep an eye on that area. I'm glad you guys are safe.
Is there a picture that they might put cameras on the stoplights like in town?
That would be something that would have to be brought up. Yeah,
DOT.
yeah, because that's something that goes beyond us and stuff like that, and then they would have to do a survey to see. And there is quite a bit of traffic there, so I don't think that traffic is there, but I think they look at how many accidents and stuff like that. But you can bring it up to the mayor's office and see what they can do about getting a hold of DOT and having them take it out.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your service. Be safe.
Thank you.
Mahalo. Any other questions, comments, or concerns for HPD? Seeing and hearing none, let's keep rolling. Board of Water Supply. Are you online with us this evening? Not seeing you online at this time, let's move forward and see if Deputy Director Deborah Zeisman or Mayor Rick Blangiardi is online.
Aloha, Chair. I am here on WebEx. Apologies that I'm not there in person. There's a lot going on this week.
No.
Okay.
Totally understand with half the island underwater. Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately. A few updates, and then I have responses to questions from last month as well. So there's a number of things that can be found on honolulu.gov from the mayor's office. Mayor Blangiardi's 2026 town hall meetings will be starting in April around the islands. There will be a number, including several on the west side. Encourage community, neighborhood board members all to please come out to the town hall meetings so that we can dialogue on all the things. I've mentioned before the 311 system is up and running and is also one of the places that for things like potholes, especially post this storm, the public is very much encouraged to report, take pictures, note the locations, so that those things can be shared with the proper department to start working on repairs and things of that sort. And also to note, the city's new Grow food recycling program is launching on April 1st as well. So there's information at honolulu.gov. Storm information, and I'm sure there may be questions about the storm. I'm happy to take them and try to find information. The city is continuing pretty extensive cleanup and recovery efforts with the community, with state, with federal partners. It's, as you know, been a lot across the island in the last week. And so lots of efforts happening, and there is so much more to do. So appreciate everything that all across the community are doing. The city has put recovery information up on the main page of the website. So if you go to honolulu.gov, there is a Kona Low recovery that's being updated daily as new information is coming in. Information is on how to report home damage, health and safety things, assistance that will continue to change as it becomes available, ways to support impacted communities as well. Cleanup is focused on the North Shore at the moment where there's the most impact, but we're aware that there's communities impacted in island-wide. So to take questions, note where there's need as well. I think we're trying to document that to get folks out as much as possible. If there is debris, rubbish, things like that from flooding, the community is asked if it's, I would say, minimal, to place any storm-related debris at the curb for usual collection. If it's more extensive than that, I think it's debris can be taken to the city stations. They're open, and H Power is expecting commercial municipal waste. Waimanalo Gulch is also accepting residential construction debris, such as dirt, concrete, rocks. So if it's more extensive, so depending on the volume, but if there's more minor debris, waste, things like that, it can go with your regular rubbish. The crews are still out doing regular pickup. The city parks are supporting storm recovery in a number of ways, including food distributions, medical stage, emergency shelters, depending on where folks are around the island. I think that is the bulk of it on storm pieces. How about I do the remainder of the updates, and we can come back if there's storm questions or comments. That might make the most sense. Okay. Business from last month or questions that folks on the board and community had, where I have some responses. The was some questions about the Makakilo Bluffs development. Folks wanted to know the status of the development projects and would there be public hearings for residents concerning that development. So DPP, the Site Development Division, acknowledged that they have received a grading permit application for the Makakilo Bluffs development, but wanted to note that the creation of a grading permit application does not in itself indicate any kind of forward movement of the project. so that construction plan review and approval is required before a grading permit can be issued. And review does not appear to be in progress at this time. So at this point in time, review has not been started. There was no further information, but if any information related to land use changes or public hearings, I would share back with the group if that moves forward. That was Makakilo Bluffs. Board member Carol England had a question, I believe 2 months ago, about community members wanting to get permission, points of contact for the communities to paint murals, art, things like that on utility boxes, traffic signals, bus shelters along Makakilo Drive in particular. And so the Mayor's Office on Culture and the Arts, MOCA, said that to initiate any kind of mural painting process, anyone in the community can submit an application to, and I'll make sure Jeffrey has it. It's MOCA, MOCA -info@honolulu.gov. And then the applicant will need to present their design concept to the Commission on Culture and the Arts for approval. And so, but they very much welcome it. They would like to have community art. So please, it's moca-info@honolulu.gov. Or if you have questions, the MOCA office number is 808-768-6622. So that's on community art. Okay, the next follow-up was on the Makakilo Drive environmental report and if the environmental report could be released. I did send this to the neighborhood board commission, the neighborhood board staff, to have it included in last month's minutes because I did already have that report. The follow-up though on the environmental assessment is that it is the 2009 final environmental assessment. Sorry, tongue-tied there. It's available online at the State of Hawaii Office of Planning website, and I did send it to the staff, so I hope it was in last month's minutes. If folks want to click and look at the 2009 environmental assessment, an updated environmental assessment was not completed for Makakilo Drive extension. And at present, there are no current plans or funding commitments to advance the Makakilo Drive extension beyond the initial conceptual planning. So there's no forward movement on an extension project. Continuing on with Makakilo Drive. So we spoke last month about the quote road diet for traffic calming and other traffic calming measures. And so DTS wanted to share that the proposed road diet on Makakilo Drive is north of Palahia Street, and it would be to convert the existing 4-lane undivided roadway to a 3-lane segment, which would have 2 through lanes on both sides and a center 2-way left turn lane. If you could picture that. I wish I had a diagram of it for you folks. They feel that based on the traffic volume of Makakilo Drive, that would be an appropriate traffic calming, like an ideal candidate for this type of solution. And this type of road diet has been used on numerous other roadways on Oahu for traffic calming with similar traffic volumes. So they noted Kaanohi Street in Aiea has this, Cam4 Road in Kalihi. It has had minimal impacts there on congestion, but assisted with the traffic calming, creating that middle center 2-way left turn lane. Let's see. And they said other measures also being considered along this section of Makakilo Drive include raised crosswalks or speed tables, curb extensions, and median islands at the marked crossings. And that once conceptual plans are finalized, they will be presented to the community. So we will come back to you with that. But a little bit more info on the new, as I told you, new term for me, road diet, as the concept to calm traffic. And happy to continue giving and receiving information on traffic calming in Makakilo. I think everyone acknowledges there's an issue. We should work collectively on it. Next was a question about future development of East and West Kapolei rail stations for Skyline, and if it would be possible to develop larger vertical structures that could incorporate things like businesses, schools, just other mixed use that folks had noted exists in other cities around the world. Hart responded that Hart is responsible for the design and construction of the rail system, guideway, and stations, including the core transit elements. That additional development at and around any future stations, such as retail space, schools, and other community facilities, fall outside of Hart's scope and is typically led by other city agencies and the state on the transit-oriented development. So I would say at this early phase, since these are stations not yet built and Hart encouraged as well, Hart is working closely, numerous folks across the city and the state on the TOD, the transit-oriented development. So I think folks want future stations to be designed to integrate with what the community wants surrounding that area. And so great to start early conversations now in terms of visioning and being responsive to what the community needs and wants, right? Some communities, I think, do not want a giant vertical, and your community may want to go more vertical and expansive around the rail station. So I think now is the perfect time to start some of those conversations, like even in this pre-planning phase, to get that information forward before we're at the construction phase. Okay, and last, there was some questions from a community member around city ordinance or state ordinance regarding political signs, candidate signs, things of that, particularly in this matter around posting on public and private property, and if signs were posted illegally, what could happen. I believe the community member had illegal signs posted on their property. So DPP is responsible for sign regulations that are part of the city ordinance, which I'm happy to provide the city ordinance. Political signs are not generally regulated, and they are not allowed on city-owned properties or roadways. So if there's illegal or prohibited signs on public property, please, the community is requested to report them through the HNL 311. Again, take a picture of it, note where the illegal signage is, and then DPP will come out to inspect and can take down that sign. HPD noted that signs posted on private property are legal. Like in general, if a private property owner wants to post a sign, it's legal. They could be removed, however, public property. This is go back to public, sorry. They both kind of gave me responses around if signs are posted on public property, not illegally on private property. My guess is if it's illegal posting on private property, it's probably an HPD. Like the landowner could take the sign down themselves if that's something that is safe and able to do because it's their own property, or if they felt they needed to involve HPD, that would be the case. I think the answers here were much more around if there's posting of signs on public property, which was not exactly what the community member was discussing. And I see HPD still on. So perhaps HPD, you can chime in. The question that came up last time was, it was like illegal posting on their private property that they did not want, and they were almost getting into an altercation with the sign poster.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, if it is on private property and it's on your property, they are supposed to get permission from the property owner. If they do not get permission, it can be removed by the owner. Again, if they feel that there may be an altercation or something going on, they can give us a call and we can make contact with their office or have them removed and let them know where they can pick up their signs and stuff like that.
Yeah. So call HPD. If it's on public property, please take a picture of it, post it on the don't call HPD, post it on the HNL 311. And so DPP could go out and remove signs on public property, like in parks or roadways, things like that. And that's the end of my follow-up. So happy to take questions or other issues that need addressing by the city.
Mahalo, Deputy, for the thorough report and expansive response to the community inquiries. And who would like to kick us off? Let's go to Board Member Sheila Medeiros.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for the update. I know we have we have a lot of questions, so thank you for taking the time to follow up. I just have a question regarding timelines of calming measures that you described. Like, what are the timelines that we can actually see progress in getting these things done? Like the ADA sidewalk. I know you folks identified it. It is an issue and you guys are working towards it, because I'm going to ask every month and to see where we at, because I need to go back and explain to some of these people who've asked. They've asked about these particular issues. Also, with the environmental study for Makakilo Drive extension, and since it's 2009, and I think you mentioned it needs to be updated, but it's not being updated. Is it because of cost? And if it is, so is there a order of merit with the city and county, I guess, where they decide what projects get done? I think that's the tip part, right? But we can't get that far if we don't have a legitimate, updated environmental study. Is that correct?
I
So
don't
do we
know,
have to-
but I can let me find out. I can put the request. So I hear two things. Just make sure I understand your question and request. So one is for me to try to get time frame for both the calming measures on Makakilo Drive, as well as the pedestrian access, the ADA, around the light poles, right? So I will note that. So to try to get time frame, and then the second one is, it's been acknowledged. It is the environmental assessment is from 09. Would you like it to state that it's a request from the community or the neighborhood board that there be an updated assessment completed? I see nodding from Dr. Bosser.
No, it's I
No?
just need to know this, because there's so many different information going on regarding that study. So I just want to be clear if the 2009 environmental study is still good, and
Oh, I
that
see.
once we have the study, then we can do a plan. I mean, I know you guys are not looking at it. That's not even on the table, but
Mhm.
we are deeply concerned with getting an extension. And so we need to figure out what we have in order for us to move forward.
I see.
So if the study needs to be updated, then that's going to be costs. So, you know, we just need to know what we have and what we don't have and how to move forward.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
So
and
the
then-
question is really that the neighborhood board, the community would like to move forward on the extension project. And so what needs to happen? I have no clue, but I will try to find out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A couple more things. So where do we go to appeal a decision that you folks provided, like the whole pickleball issue? I
Mhm.
still don't think that's logical. So if the community wants to say, hey, we don't agree with this decision that the city and county gave us with this pickleball line, where do we go to appeal that decision?
I also don't know. I think it would likely depend on the department responsible for the decision. So in this case, it's Parks and Rec. Let me find out. So you can put in a formal appeal.
And then
Yeah.
last one,
Okay.
last one is, in fact, I had someone email me asking me about racetrack.
Okay.
The area there is like a dump. He showed me pictures of the area. There are like furniture, tires. It's terrible.
Mhm.
And you can't see it from the roadway, so it's out of sight, out of mind. But inside, it really needs to be cleaned up. It is it's a sight to behold. You have to go and see it. So I hope somebody from city and county is taking a look at all that garbage that's in there. And you have homeless that's in there, and they're in the hangar. They're living in one of the hangars. So safety reasons, you have now they're in a city and county hangar. If anything happens to those individuals in there, then you're responsible for those people. So, I mean, it's horrible. You have
Yep.
to go and look. The pictures are disgusting. So you
I
have
see
to go and look.
HPD. HPD, do you want to jump in?
Yeah. Thanks for the question. A lot of that property that you're talking about has just been turned over to, not just been turned, but it's part of the Department of Parks and Recreation. I have spoken to Kanani Pule, who is the supervisor on this side, and we are looking at finding a date in April to start going and cleaning up some of that rubbish. People are using it as a dump. Unfortunately, what the issue that we're having with the homeless in that area is prior to Parks taking over the property and Hunt being out there, we worked with Hunt, the Parks Department, as well as the DHHL to try to board up as much areas as possible with barriers and stuff to keep people from going in there. However, people are finding ways throughout that whole property to get in and out. I know it's in a sore spot for HFD as well because of the fires and stuff like that. So we are working to try to figure out a solution. I know DPR has been sending out some paperwork that says that they're supposed to secure it and fence it, but honestly, to fence that whole area, you're talking about, I'm sure, millions of dollars to do that. But again, we are trying to work with it, try to do some outreach to the homeless to get them out of there. But again, they just seem to keep finding ways in and out. No matter where we put a barrier, they find somewhere around that. But we are working. We're looking at something. Well, I just gave Kanani some dates in April that we're going to try to figure out when it works for everybody to get out there and clean it up.
Thank you. We could do like a huge outreach and everybody, and you can get volunteers from the community. I'm sure we'd help if you need that.
We'll always accept the help. And if there are outreach communities and services other than the ones that we deal with directly with Kealoha, West Oahu, people are more than welcome to go out there and try to do some outreach and see if they can get help with these people or for these people. But yeah, once we find the date, if the community wants to come together and do an operation on the weekends to finish up, we'll be more than happy to accommodate the community coming out and working on that. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Member
Chair.
Carol England.
Chair, I just have a quick question for Ms. Zeitzman. Beautification for the boxes. I just wanted to make sure that it is the correct department to speak to because it is along the main highway through Kapolei. It's not Makakilo Drive, and it's the light boxes. I just wanted to make sure that it is to go to MOCA, M-O-C-A, versus any other department.
If it's city property, then it should be MOCA. It just sounds like it is. So yes, that is the mayor. So MOCA is an acronym for the Mayor's Office on Culture and the Arts. The director there, I work closely with her, as her name is Jennifer Santos. So, and then they have a commission, that's a community commission of community volunteers from the arts community that approves any of these types of requests.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Let's go to Dr. Amy Bosler.
Thank you. This is a comment and then also a question, but I was originally going to ask where the city efforts were for the storm cleanup, because I know many of us from this community are volunteering up there regularly, digging out, trying to help pump, trying to get people food and water, and we aren't seeing city officials up there. So I was curious when you said the efforts were focused in that area. And I do know that the board meeting last night got pretty heated and animated, so I won't get too into it, but I'm just letting you know we're out there in the community and we're helping him where people are suffering, and we're not seeing a lot of city help. The other question I had was, do you have any update on what's going on with Pa'akea Street out on our side? There's reports of families still out there stuck who haven't been getting any relief or help. And so please also, maybe if you could give us an update on our West Side neighbors, because they're struggling too. There's people out trying to get water pumped, but can't because a lot of the water is on military land. And so they can't build trenches to drain the water because the water is just going to come from the military side. So there's a lot going on the West Side as well. And I know all the communities, but want to bring awareness for ours.
Okay. So Pa'akea Street in particular.
Okay, yeah, there are
Okay.
people stuck there since Thursday.
Okay.
Thank you.
And they can't get out? Is that some of the issue? There's still water.
Yeah, they haven't been able to get out because of the water.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go online to Dr. Keone Dudley.
Aloha. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Deborah, you do a great job, and I'd really hate to complain, but 2 months ago, I asked you to talk to the mayor and get him to send somebody to take a look at the trees on Makakilo Drive. Last month, we had a special person come to talk about trees, and I thought that was someone you sent. She promised that she would come out and take a look, and she wrote me once saying that she had somebody from the city coming with her. I've never heard from her since. The rains were really wonderful as far as the trees were concerned. They took an awful lot of the leaves off, so we have trees now with just branches, and it's nice to look at trees with just branches and no leaves at all. I'm just kidding. You know, it makes me so angry. Can you please tell the mayor, we got a problem in Makakilo on Makakilo Drive. We've got to send somebody out there. We've got to find out what's killing all those trees. Now, it's not just there. You know, I live at the top of Makakilo. I look down on the whole everything beneath me, up into the valley. It's dead trees everywhere you look. No leaves, gray leaves, just, you know, there is something going on here that is killing all of our trees. So please see what you can do, okay?
The person, I also thought the person from Urban Forestry, from Parks and Rec Division of Urban Forestry, you said she was in touch. Did they complete the assessment? I know they came out to speak last month.
No.
Is it what? Okay.
I've never heard from them since. You know, they sent one note.
Okay. Okay, so let me follow up. I mean, I can let the mayor know, but he's going to just call probably the same person at the Division of Urban Forestry. So I can just follow up as well and say, hey, thank you for coming out last month, and where are things at in the assessment? Because they're the arborists, right? The city has professional arborists who can look at trees. Let me follow up because I know they were coming out to speak to the group and to look at the tree situation. And it's not complaining. Please keep up. If it's not taken care of, I'd like to know about it. That's the reason I'm here, is to make sure that community needs are met as best we can.
If you were
don't apologize.
If you were to ask the mayor to call them, though, besides you calling them, they would get excited, perhaps.
Perhaps. I'm going to try not to, because we're really trying to focus on the storm damage right now. So, you know, I'm going to keep the mayor focused on that, at least this week. I will follow up, though, with the urban forestry folks.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other board members at this time? Okay, seeing none, going to community members for questions, comments, and concerns. Seeing Uncle Frank Ganadio, go right ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chair, just to augment what Ms. Theismann mentioned about the town halls, the one that this board and the residents of our area should focus on is 16 April at UH West Oahu from 6:30 to 8:30. It'll be in the multi-purpose ballroom C208 in the campus center ballroom. My second comment is kind of follow up on member Madero's question about the environmental assessment. The draft assessment from 2009 indicated no significant impact. Managing Director Formby mentioned that they cannot put the project in the Transportation Improvement Program unless there's an environmental assessment. So can we conclude that that environmental assessment that was done in 2009 serves the purpose? And we can now look at putting the drive back into the tip?
Okay, mahalo Frank Canadio for the clarification and the follow-up question, which is a clarification for the mayor's office and Deputy Director Zeisman. Is the 2009 environmental assessment for the Makakilo Drive extension sufficient to meet the criteria necessary to put the project back on the tip? Okay, now let's go to next community member. Let's go with Dad Sprague.
Hi, good evening. I just wanted to make a brief comment concerning the political signs that are overtaking Makakilo Drive. I believe that all of the signs currently up feature two candidates who I believe are maybe running against each other. And if either one of you takes down the majority of your signs, preferably all the signs, I promise I will vote for you. Yeah. If they all stay up like they are, I'm not going to vote for either one of those two candidates. So I assume I hope I'm not the only person who feels this way. I hope a lot of people feel the way I do. And just wanted to add my 2 cents in there. And I'd love to see a lot of those signs taken down. It's way too early. They're just, I don't want to say anything more than that. But they need to come down. It's way too soon. Put them up when it's appropriate, and I'll vote for the appropriate candidate who takes appropriate action and behaves appropriately. That'd be great. So that's it. That's all. Thank you. Bye.
Mahalo, community member, for expressing that concerns and selling your vote. Okay, let's go to community member Johnny May Perry.
Thank you, Chair John May Perry. First of all, I just want to thank the mayor for going to North Shore as early as he did, because he's scheduled to go to that area on May 7th, which is much, much too late. And I just want to point out that as far as I understand it, HPD, fire department, all the department heads and EMT are workers of 24/7. However, the departments that was much, much involved, DPR, DFD, DFM, are Monday to Friday workers. And I want to point out to the communities, they're akamai, and they did the appropriate things is to get into survivor mode. There's more of them than elected officials. And again, thank the mayor. I mean, it's lessons learned, but fire chief and HPD chief could have earlier presence. At least it shows that the community have been recognized during this devastation. Thank you.
Mahalo. Community members or board members have any question, comments, or concerns for the mayor's office? Come on up, Mike.
I have a question. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I noticed there's debris on Farrington Highway from Kapolei golf course to Walmart, Makakilo Drive. And it's full of falling leaves. My concern is like, man, I don't see nothing swept up. And if that drains get clogged, we might have a major flood on the highway and in the homes too. Since this Kona low really had looked like a hurricane, in my opinion. And it's been a while since I seen those vehicles that they use to vacuum the debris, but it's been ugly. So can the DOT or mayor office do something about it?
Let me try to see. I do
Mahalo.
know in advance of the storm, they had a lot of crews out trying to do debris removal, clearing out drains, things of that sort. But if there, and I would also note to anyone in the community, if there's particular areas that you note, that's, I think, great input for the crews to if you see problematic areas. And again, that's where the 311, the HNL 311 app, if then it alerts crews, you know, we have more eyes on the street if we see areas where there's drains being clogged in big storms, things like that, to send out those sweeper clearing vehicles, things like that. Okay, thank you.
Mahalo. I think I saw Dr. Dudley's hand. Go right ahead.
Yes. You know, these storms are really something, but they're nothing compared to hurricanes. And right now, you know, we're right in the path for hurricanes coming at us. We're in the last year in the Atlantic, 3 out of the 5 hurricanes were Category 5 hurricanes. It's Category 5 that's headed at us. Mayor Blangiardi came out to Kapolei a couple of years ago, and I asked him what he was doing, and he said, "It's just too big a problem. We're not doing anything." Well, so I really turned to the legislature. We had 10 bills last year. We cut it down to 3 bills this year. The 10 bills were all killed. The 3 bills this year were all killed. The legislature is not doing a single thing. Senator Donovan De La Cruz killed the last of our bills, fantastic bills that would have done so much with tax breaks, no layout of money at all. Could you talk to the mayor about seeing what we could do to get the city to do something to prepare for hurricanes? I tell you, this last big storms were nothing compared to what'll happen. When you see 6 feet of water coming down the hill because the whole hill is getting covered with water, you know, people are going to be killed by the thousands. So, thank you.
Mahalo, Dr. Dudley, for raising up the concerns again about the increasing amount of weather-related disasters that are coming upon our shores. This recent example of flooding across the state, the governor estimated in excess of $1 billion in property damage. The question that rises is how many of these communal lessons do we need to learn before we realize that prevention is more cost effective than damage control after the fact?
Yep.
It's mind-boggling. Whatever we can do to assist and help with that would be great. The second is that our community is impacted, even though we didn't get much flooding. What we will be flooded with is all the Opala. Like all of the cleanup is coming to West Oahu, to the landfills, to H Power. It's going to come through our communities and it's going to go into our backyards. So let's try to see how we can do better. And we know you're trying, and we know in the midst of the crisis is not the best time to change policy.
Yeah.
But it is the best time for us to realize that, hey, maybe we should revisit the current policies. Because that was just two konalos. Like, that wasn't a hurricane. That was just two konalos.
Yep. I will note for Dr. Dudley and others. So the city does have the Climate Resilience Fund is a new fund at the city that taxpayers have directed some of your all of our tax dollars into. This is its very first year, but the idea around that was to create specific designated funding for exactly what we're talking about here, climate work. So it's still pretty new on how the city is utilizing those dollars. It's ranging from, environmental pieces, preparation, but this is literally the very first year, but it's an ongoing funding stream. I think the other opportunity, because money for those things that you're talking about has often, I think, been the challenge. And then at the state level as well is the green fee program, which is also, it's not even moved out yet, right? It's in front of the legislature right now, but I think designated dollars for some of the things you folks are raising. So I'd encourage you keep the conversation going, whether it's at the legislature, to the city council, to the administrative branch, to brainstorm together, because it is very costly. So we're going to have to figure out how we come together as community and create public funds. Because if we don't create more funds, it's also what are we supposed to cut to make right to we don't want to cut existing city services. So how I think is the mechanism. So not in the midst of the crisis, but I think we need to be getting creative together on those things. So I keep the ideas coming. I will try to feed them to the right places as well.
Thank you, Deputy Director Zeisman. We see Dr. Dudley for a follow-up. Go right ahead.
I just want to add to the places where there might be money. The military leases are a real possibility. The governor is talking about 10 billion. We need 4 billion for our problem with preparing for hurricanes. So just, so the community is really aware. Think 4 billion for hurricanes when any of that money comes in, and really push for it. Thank you.
Mahalo. Last round of for the mayor's office, and sending you all lots of aloha as you continue to hokua and support and kakoa our community members in North Shore, Manoa, like Pupukea, Pa'alu'u, you name it, Makua, all across the island that has been impacted by the Kona low. So
it's a lot.
Godspeed.
So mahalo to you
Yeah.
all for everything you all are doing as well. I think it's we appreciate it. We know it's lots of people doing all the things. So thank you.
We'll see you next time. Now let's go to H dot is. I don't think we're for our quarterly check-in. Okay. Yes, I am correct. They usually only come once every 3 months. Is OHA with us this evening? Not seeing them right now. Let's go to Uncle Frank Anadio, our liaison to the Citizens Advisory Board for AMPO.
Yes, Mr. Chair, at the March meeting of the Citizen Advisory Committee, the CAC, it was reported that the Policy Board received the Oahu Regional Transportation Plan, or ORTP, for 2050. Dallas Ige of AMPO then briefed on the final ORTP, which is updated every 5 years and can be found on the AMPO website. There were 63 public and agency comments, including the Hawaii Bicycle League wants greater emphasis on cultural trails and historic rail corridors. Busway improvements should follow the complete streets principles. The Department of Planning and Permitting wants to see stronger project alignments with transit-oriented development planning. And the Hawaii Department of Transportation emphasized the need for coordination with HDOT on city projects adjacent to HDOT facilities. In response to my earlier complaint about the removal of the Makakilo Drive project, Mr. Ige stated that it has been restored as an illustrative project, listed but unfunded. The CAC vote for approving the ORTP to the Policy Board was 11 for, 6 against, with 5 members joining me and 2 abstentions. Following the meeting, I checked to ensure the drive was on the ORTP. It is listed as project OC-31-02, Makakilo Drive Second Access, with its costs estimated at 126 million plus. In doing so, I also found that project OS-41-04, in other words, a state HDOT project, Fort Barrett Road, widening to 4 lanes from Farrington Highway to the Barbers Point Gate, with its cost estimated at 95 million plus, is now on the not recommended list in the ORTP. In other words, do not look for it in the next 24 years. In the public comments time, CAC member John Rogers from Neighborhood Board 23, Ava, stated that leeward bikeways are poorly maintained. And guest Laura Ruby said the bicycle pedestrian bridge over the Alawai Canal is not needed and that the community should be heard from concerning the extension of Skyline to the University of Hawaii Manoa campus. Concerning the latter, I believe that any extensions of Skyline past South Street or to the west should be developed with more modern magnetic levitation or maglev technology. It would be both operational superior to and much more cost effective than steel wheels on steel rails. Savings for local taxpayers on operations and maintenance costs in the long term would be in the billions of dollars. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Uncle Frank, for your report and for those that want to see the specifics on Plan 2050 and the place where they put the Makakilo Drive extension as an illustration as opposed to actually on a project that's going to be currently resourced. You can find it under reports, G, OMPO, in the hypertext links there, or in the board's community Google Drive. So we got all of that information there for your perusal. Any questions for Uncle Frank regarding his report on the state of the 2050 plan? Okay. Board member Sheila Medeiros, go right ahead.
Hi, Frank. Thank you for the update. Just so that I have a clear understanding, I think there's many people out in Makakilo who need that shared understanding is, so you just mentioned the environmental impact study. If that is okay, then it can be put on the tip, Makakilo Drive extension. I was told that you need the environmental study and you actually need a plan for that the Makakilo Drive extension. So there needs to be 2 things done before it's added to the tip. So that was new information this evening that you said all we needed was the environmental study. So I'm just trying to get clarification of what actually do we need to get it on the tip.
Yes, ma'am. I just would like to mention that the plan was drafted back in 2008 with community input. They're probably going to say it's not any good. I was thinking about it when the mayor's rep mentioned reducing Makakilo Drive from 4 lanes to 3 in Upper Makakilo. Well, perhaps they need to recost the extension of the drive if they're going to use 3 lanes, and it won't cost $126 million. And by the way, that 126 million that DTS Director Morton always mentions, he never mentions that the Federal Highway Administration will kick in any money up to anywhere from 80 to 100% on any projects that are congestion management as well as safety. And certainly the extension of the drive qualifies there. So maybe they ought to cost what it would actually cost local taxpayers to complete the drive. And I intend to bring that up in the town hall meeting with the mayor. And I hope a lot of other people show up at that meeting. Thank you.
Mahalo, Uncle Frank, for helping us to understand how all of this works and what steps we need in order to engage with appropriately finding a way for the Makakilo Drive completion project to happen. I say completion intentionally because people say it's an extension as if this was optional, but this was the original design, which was promised to all of the community members, is that it would loop around and connect right back to H1, like on or Farrington on both ends. Any other questions for Uncle Frank? Hearing none, let's now see if any of the previously silent reports agencies are here. Last call for any of the other agencies, Board of Water Supply, OHA, HDOT. Hearing none. Let's now move to presentations. And as was mentioned earlier, the USTA Hawaii Pacific Campus presentation is being rescheduled to April. And we only have one presentation this evening, evaluating the impacts of LNG strategic partnering agreement, environmental and public health concerns for Central and West Oahu. And we welcome up the Sierra Club Executive Director, Wayne Chung Tanaka, for our presentation this evening. Relina, welcome. Come on down.
Is this where? Okay, thanks. So yeah, good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share with you some of the thoughts and questions and concerns that we've had about this liquefied natural gas proposal that you've probably been hearing about, especially recently. We do have a PowerPoint presentation that I think is going to be Jeffrey's going to pull up shortly. But before that, I just wanted to also express my gratitude to Lauren Ballesteros Watanabe. She's our energy organizer. She's done a ton of the research and even helped prepare some of the prettier looking slides. All the ugly ones, those are me. And yeah, and I guess quick background on myself. So I've been with Sierra Club of Hawaii since 2021. Prior to that, I was at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs for about a decade, doing public policy work. So not just environmental and cultural things, but anything that affected the interests of Native Hawaiians. So criminal justice, education, housing, and so forth. So I'm doing policy for about 15 years now. And prior to that, I was a lawyer and I went to engineering school. So that's my undergrad is in. It kind of has helped me kind of understand some of the more technical aspects of what we've been seeing. And yeah.
Mahalo, Executive Director. We are in the midst of trying to get your presentation up and ready to go. So if
Nice.
I think we are almost there. So give us a few more seconds and we will start rolling.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so all right, yeah, intro slide. So kind of wanted to look at the questions and concerns about environmental risks and costs and things, and especially focus in on I think direct impacts to this area of the island, because this is kind of where they're planning to bring in the liquefied natural gas or LNG. So quick, I guess next slide, please. A quick roadmap. I guess it didn't. Okay. Oh, I guess it's supposed to, yeah, there's a animation thing that comes through, but you can just, yeah, you just do that like that. So I'll just do a quick rundown of the proposal from the study that the Hawaii State Energy Office, or HSCO, did last year, as well as a rundown of the strategic partnering agreement, some salient provisions of this agreement the governor signed with JERA, which is a Japanese methane LNG supplier. And then I'll just go through some concerns, right? So public safety and health concerns, as well as cost and reliability concerns, such as energy security, and then bigger picture environment and climate issues. So next slide, please. So quick background on the I guess the vision of LNG. So the idea is to bring in I guess invest about $1.4 billion in bringing in this what's called a floating storage and regasification unit, or FSRU. This is a 300-meter long tanker that they're going to moor off of Campo Industrial, about 2 miles, and then pipe. And that tanker will receive the shipments of liquefied natural gas. It's going to turn it back into gas and pipe it through pipelines. New pipelines they're going to build to shore, and then pipelines also connect the LNG to the various oil burning plants that we have that we're going to be retrofitting. And you can, sorry, you can just kind of jam through the, yeah, next. A big part of this vision is to have this infrastructure be reusable for, according to the State Energy Office, green hydrogen, which there's a lot of issues with that, and I won't get into right now. But either green hydrogen or some alternative renewable fuel source. And sorry, you can keep jamming through it. Yeah, and then like I said, it's gonna, just for the FSRU and the buoys and moorings and then the pipelines, it's gonna cost about $1.4 billion. At least that's what the estimate is. Next slide, please. The floating storage and regasification unit. So it's like that big ship on the top, right? It's like about 300 meters, so maybe 3 football fields and change. And then, so October of last year, the governor signed this agreement with JERA, which is a Japanese LNG supplier. And so it's not legally enforceable, but it lays a roadmap of how they think they're going to roll this out. So, JERA is going to help find $2 billion to invest in the infrastructure for liquefied natural gas. Hawaii, on our end, is envisioned to create a coalition of stakeholders to drive energy policy, as well as to create a curriculum for other Pacific nations to teach them about energy. And JERA is going to be like the expert on that curriculum. So yeah, so that's kind of like in a nutshell what we're looking at. And so I really want to kind of dig in and think about the things that haven't really been, really looked into or even mentioned in these plans. And so the first big one for me, especially, and probably mostly for folks here, especially, is public safety. So yeah, next slide. Yeah. Oh yeah, and then sorry, part of the agreement is that the State Energy Office and JERA and the industry are going to drive all of these efforts. So like drive the coalition, drive the education, and so forth. Okay, next slide. So public safety is a really big concern for this, especially for this region. Liquefied natural gas, it wants to be a gas, right? And so as a gas, it's very volatile and it's very flammable. And oil is something that's naturally liquid. It'll burn. It'll catch on fire and burn, but gas explodes, right? So just this year on the continent, we've had, it's just March, we've had 3 like big explosions, big pipeline explosions, natural gas pipeline explosions on the continent. And that history stretches back, right? So we have 2025, there's a number of explosions, 2024, especially as the continent starts building up its natural gas facilities, we're seeing more and more of these kinds of catastrophes. Next slide, please. And then looking at JERA itself, right? So those other fires, there are various natural gas companies, but JERA itself doesn't have a great safety record either, right? So in 2022, their Freeport facility blew up. Like it blew up. It cost almost $1 billion in damages. It's had facility fires in Japan in 2022, 2023, and 2025 for gas. Also, they had a biomass plant that caught on fire in 2024. So yeah, I mean, even JERA itself, even in Japan, doesn't have the greatest safety record in terms of preventing kinds of fires and things that we might be at risk of. Next slide, please. And yeah, this is just to show, and it's not just a recent thing or not just a JERA thing, but just natural gas in itself has a long history of these kinds of devastating explosions just because of the nature of the gas itself. And the next slide. There's also, beyond the fire issues, oh, sorry about the spacing, there's public health concerns, right? So all these facilities, because methane wants to be, or LNG wants to be a gas, it's all infrastructure kind of leaks LNG or methane. Sometimes it's intentionally released because if the temperature gets a little bit too hot, it turns into too much gas and they have to vent all the gas out. So between intentional releases and leakages, what happens is it creates a lot of like air pollution concerns, right? So methane, which is the main ingredient of liquefied natural gas, it turns into what's called ground level ozone or smog. So and that creates all kinds of respiratory issues. Also included in LNG in this gas are things like benzene and ammonia and toluene, and these things can cause all kinds of like health issues, like respiratory issues, organ damage, and so forth. And we also see in other places that have had these LNG facilities, lots of issues with discharges of contaminants, especially heavy metals, like lead, for example. And that's very bad for children, like causes developmental issues, can also cause like lots of issues with organs and so forth, right? So again, they're going to be setting a lot of this infrastructure, just offshore and then on land in this area, in this part of the island. And so it's something that I think folks should really be talking about. Like we can't ignore these liabilities. Next slide, please. I don't know if you can play this video, but yeah, I guess we don't have to play it, but okay. Just a few seconds clip. So what you're about to see, hopefully, is, oh, you just skip it, yeah. But you can't really see methane or LNG, but with your bare eyes, but with special lenses, you can kind of show how crazy, like this billows of this vapor coming out of this facility that they were filming with those special lenses. Okay, so beyond public safety and public health, I also want to talk a little bit about the cost, right? So you might have seen in the news that recently, especially, the State Energy Office actually had a kind of a really embarrassing math error in its models, especially the model used to create that graph on the top, on the middle, right, the upper graph. And that's a graph that's been on the HSCO website. It's been all the PowerPoint presentations to chambers of commerce, community groups, businesses. And it looks great because that bar on the left is how much we'll benefit in terms of costs versus that 1.4 billion on the right. And so it looks like we're going to make like $800 million if we pivot to LNG. HSCO had a spreadsheet error that made it so they didn't actually include the cost of LNG itself, which is $900 million. So that graph is gone. And the state initially denied there was an error. They said the scientists had looked at it, didn't know what he's talking about. Now they've admitted that they're wrong. And then the Hawaii Natural Energy Institute and the University of Hawaii Economic Research Organization have both confirmed independently that error exists. So that spreadsheet's gone. And really what it looks like now is that graph on the bottom right, where we're losing about maybe $400 million. And that's, yeah. That's really just the tip of the iceberg, unfortunately. So next slide this is what the State Energy Office is falling back to now. So we're going to spend $1.4 billion, and then we're going to make about about $150 million in benefits under their projections. One of the questions I have is how reliable is that $1.4 billion cost estimate? And if you look at all of these other public works projects, I mean, they've overrun by 100%, like 500%, just 100% like cost overrun, that puts us in the hole $1 billion. Like, and that's just cost overruns, right? So if there's a fire or a disaster, earthquake, something that shuts these things down, then that cost is going to be even greater. And I do want to point out, it's not in here, but that blue portion on the left-hand side, that $500 million, if we can't reuse infrastructure from LNG for another form of fuel, that blue part goes away already. So we're looking at potential liabilities of, $1 billion+, maybe even more. That's going to be passed on to HECO ratepayers. Next slide, please. Yeah, and then just to touch on the reliability, right? So they're saying we need LNG to provide firm power. We need to have like this, base load provided by thermal generation. But where we've seen these fires, it takes out this infrastructure for like months at a time, sometimes years. There's other places, Greece, Italy, where FSRUs, like the ones I want to bring here, had to go offline for months at a time because of like things like hurricanes or unexpected weather, other phenomena like we're likely to see here in Hawaii, especially in the coming decades. Other places have also seen just disconnected their FSRUs, their giant floating gas tankers, because it just didn't make sense economically. And in fact, China and Japan reject these FSRUs that they want to bring here to Hawaii because they're too expensive and too unreliable. And so for me, like if we have an earthquake, if you have a tsunami, a fire, and it impacts the pipes, it impacts the floating storage gas regasification unit offshore, like we're going to be stuck. Like we're going to be like super stuck, right? And that's a liability that we're going to have to bear, as people that live here in Hawaii and on Oahu. Next slide, please. There's also some like environmental concerns, like locally, like where we've seen other LNG facilities in the Philippines, in the Gulf, fisheries like just drops like tremendously. Like finished fishes catches have dropped over 90% in those places. There's also concerns about discharges of chemicals. Australia had an FSRU that they basically were going to go forward with it, and then they realized how much chlorine it would be dumping into the ocean, and so they were like, no, we're not going to, so they rejected that LNG proposal. Also, we're going to have all these tankers coming in, like to keep that floating gas thing full of gas, right? And so they're going to be discharging ballast water, could have all kinds of invasive species. Like statistically speaking, we know for sure with the build out of LNG, whales are gonna get hit. I mean, that's not everyone's thing. I mean, it's my thing. I like whales, but like, whales are gonna die because of this increase in LNG traffic. And then of course the direct impacts when you build, when you drop this 300-meter long mooring facility onto the reef, on the ocean floor and the reefs, and then the pipelines that you build to shore, that's all gonna have like impacts on the benthic environment in the ocean. Next slide, please. And then we'll probably skip over most of this, but just from a climate perspective, right? Methane, which is what LNG is mostly made out of, is 80 times worse than carbon dioxide in terms of its global warming potential. And even though when you burn it, it burns clean, it's notorious for leaking or being released constantly, from when you frack it to when you liquefy it, process it, to shipping, storing, all the way to the end when you burn it. And especially when you burn it, they're venting LNG all the time, right? So you're releasing tons of methane that's going to totally offset any kind of benefit you might get in terms of global warming potential if we were to switch to LNG. And next slide, please. And just what HSCO is saying, it's going to reduce our climate impact, compared to the current situation with burning oil. But what they're doing is comparing LNG in a new facility to oil being burned in like an 80-year-old facility like we have here. So it's kind of a false comparison, and they're not even comparing LNG to renewable build out, which will be hampered or foreclosed if we do pivot to LNG. So again, even the emissions savings for us is dubious. And then if you look at the strategic partnering agreement, sorry, next slide, where it talks about creating a curriculum for other Pacific nations to pivot towards to do energy development. JERA is leading that, so it's going to be their product. It's going to be methane, and we're going to essentially be Hawaii is going to be the hub for opening the door for methane across the Pacific, and that's a vision, and that's JERA's business strategy. It's not secret or anything. They have way too much methane. Japan doesn't want it. They're trying to unload it on whoever will take it. And in terms of climate, that's going to step on the gas instead of in the climate stabilization that we've been experiencing. Okay, next slide, please. I think we can kind of skip these. Just a lot of skepticism, a lot of like actions that JERA does that doesn't give us a lot of confidence they're actually truly trying to push us towards a future where we're not dependent on their products, right? Next slide. You probably skip the. And then beyond just the climate thing, the way LNG works, the economics of it is you have to buy a lot of it for it to be cheap enough to make economic sense. So we're going to have to buy and burn about 0.7 to 1.0 million tons of liquefied natural gas for this to make sense. And that means it's going to crowd out the demands for like solar, which is actually cheap and like probably the cheapest source of energy, and discourage solar development just because we have to keep buying and burning so much of this natural gas to make it make sense, like financially. And beyond that, it takes so long to stand up solar projects going through the regulatory process. Again, this is like, we want really cheap, reliable, like safe energy, like solar and storage is where they go. But it takes them a long time because our regulatory agencies are, they have such limited capacity. We bring in this LNG, proposal, it's going to eat up all the PUC's docket, it's going to eat up VLNR. So it's like just the regulatory crowd is going to impede us being able to access like, cheap, reliable, independent energy sources. And the next slide, please. And then again, I guess to that, to the point of like the vision, I think what we all want is cheap energy, right? And energy independence. And this whole premise of bringing LNG is based on the idea we're going to bring in green hydrogen to replace it in 2045. That doesn't make green hydrogen doesn't exist, right? Unfortunately, we don't have this. It's not available enough. It's super expensive. It's super inefficient. It makes no sense to run a grid off of green hydrogen, and so that they're already walking away from that idea, but that vision of landing on green hydrogen. But essentially what that tells me is there's no end to this bridge. So we're going to be locked into imported fuel indefinitely, especially if there's cost issues that require us to keep paying them to pay off whatever debts that may arise from all of the financial liabilities. Okay, next slide, please. So one thing that they're really pushing is that, okay, we have to do LNG because we don't know how we're going to get to 100% renewable by 2045, right? We don't have the storage technology to provide firm energy. So we should use LNG as a hedge, right? So in case there's a gap at some point, we can just lean on LNG. I think there's a logical error there where just because we can only get to 80% renewable now with current technology doesn't mean we abandon that and pivot to LNG that's going to prevent us from building out, right? So if we can build 80% now, let's just focus on that, right? And let's get as energy independent as we can, as cheap energy as we can. And then in 7-10 years, who knows what kind of storage technology will be around, right? Other kinds of policy changes that could facilitate faster renewable development. Why throw that all away because we might not be able to make that 20% or 10% and lock us into LNG for the next several decades. And the next slide is just a quote that I thought was kind of captured that really nicely. Someone just emailed me. But renewable stuff is getting cheaper and cheaper. The tech gets better and better. Meanwhile, fossil fuels just get more and more expensive, right? And I don't even know how much oil is in the barrel now, but LNG prices are tied to oil prices, so nothing's going to get cheaper, in terms of on the fossil fuel space. So in 7 years, we could have even cheaper renewable energy, even better technology, better storage. But if we're locked into this LNG thing, then we lose our opportunity to take advantage of the cost savings of the environmental benefits of a truly renewable transition. And then I think that's, I just wanted to, highlight, so that's what, so an alternative, what should we be doing, right? I think first we need to look at our demand, right? Reduce our demand, especially Oahu, because we built this island at a time when we thought oil was forever, right? And it was cheap, right? So we have all these AC, we just don't take advantage of the natural trade winds and all these other things that we can do to reduce our demand. There's technology that can also help us manage demand too. So some things need firm power. You want hospitals to have power. You want grocery stores and whatnot. But that needs firm. But there's other energy sources that probably don't need firm, right? And then and there's other things with most of our energy demand comes from the military, but we can skip over that for now. And then and so in the meantime, let's invest in renewable development. Let's invest in R&D. If we dropped $1 billion in sodium-ion batteries or batteries that run off really cheap, readily available materials instead of lithium that you dig up from the bottom of the ocean, we could truly lead the way in terms of creating a renewable and sustainable future for ourselves and even other places. So in conclusion, there's a lot of things that are missing in this LNG proposal that aren't being talked about. That's bringing a lot of concerns for me and hopefully for you folks. There's a lot of liabilities that we're going to be asked to shoulder in the coming decades if we go along with this proposal. And essentially the realities, the political realities and the economic and technological realities make it clear that we're looking at being locked into fossil fuels and foreign fossil fuels and foreign corporation for an indefinite period of time. And not only for us, but this could also lead to other places dealing with the same complications. And so instead of doing that, let's look at doubling down on renewable development, maybe even doing some R&D and doing some investment in what will really take to get us to be independent, to have cheap energy, reliable energy, and to maybe treat this planet a little bit better than we have been. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. And Lauren too is she's been nerding out on all of the plans and documents, so she may also be able to answer questions that I.
Mahalo nui loa for the presentation from the Sierra Club Hawaii and Executive Director Wayne Chung Tanaka and sidekick and nerding out extraordinaire Lauren Watanabe. Questions from the board. Let's go with member Carol England.
Chair, I would like to, if you could indulge, I have written out it seemed like I got a hold of your notes for this presentation because I agree with everything that you're saying. So if you could allow me just a minute or two to kind of read my statements?
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay.
Share with us your thoughts. What's going on?
Okay, so I'm just going to say, I'm not talking about the board, but I'm just going to say this. Why the neighborhood board, number 34, should oppose this deal. Okay, the simple version is this. The state wants to bring liquefied natural gas, LNG, to Oahu and build a massive energy facility right here in our West Oahu backyard near Barbers Point and Kalailoa. Before we as a community say yes to something this big and this permanent, we need to pump the brakes for 3 reasons. Reason number 1, which you brought up, the math was wrong. It wasn't mathing, right? And what I found in my research was, and I'll just read it. The report that convinced the state that this was a good deal had a major math error. The contractor forgot to include the cost of the fuel itself in the calculation. Is that what you had said, right? When someone caught and fixed the mistake, the supposed savings of $1.2 billion actually flipped to costing us roughly $300 to $400 million, and that's what you had said. Okay, that was reason number 1. Reason number 2, now I've only been on a board for a year or so, and before that I was with the Rotary, so nobody asked us. Okay, the study was done, and this is the one that was published on January 2025, and was signed without any public meetings, without any community input, and without anyone knocking on a single door in Kapolei or Makakilo, is what I had found. Reason number 3, and you have mentioned this before, it could be bad for our health. You've talked about respiratory illnesses, asthma. Nobody, have you known if anybody has done a formal health study on this and what this facility would mean for our families in Kapolei and Makakilo? Okay, we should not be the guinea pigs for an experiment that skipped that step. And the bonus concern is Hawaii has been down this road before, and according to my research, 4 different governors have reversed course on LNG over the years, and Hawaiian Electric already spent 4 years and millions of taxpayers' dollars on previous LNG attempt that was canceled. Okay, so I know that we are trying to push for the 2045 date, but I think you mentioned this. Building a massive gas facility can take anywhere between 8 to 15 years. And then we're kind of guinea pigging it, right? So are we really going to meet our goals, like you had said, that gap for 2020, for 2045? So our ask is simple and reasonable. We're not saying never, maybe. We're not saying not yet. Not until the math is independently checked and corrected, a health impact study is done, specifically for West Oahu families. Our community gets real public meetings and a real voice in this decision. So I guess I'm with you. You're a Sierra Club, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I totally did. Once I found out you were talking, I had to say, what is all of this happening? And this is what I found, and I'm totally in agreement with you.
Mahalo. Was there a specific question you wanted him to address from that statement? Okay. Okay, so her question is, how did you get her notes?
That's fantastic. Like that you had researched and came to like the same conclusion. That's very affirming. And yeah, thank you.
Okay, now let's go to Dr. Amy Balsa. Go right ahead.
Thank you. I am also
Be mindful, like that for Q&A purposes, we're trying to understand and bring our community along with us, and we will get to a discussion point because we have a resolution and where you can state your opinions. But if you do state your opposition, be sure to tie it into a question that they can provide perspective on for us. Mahalo.
Thank you. It's foreshadowing. My question is, where is the environmental impact study for this? Not necessarily to you, but to the officials who are wanting to push this forward. Most people have part-time jobs. My part-time job was a scuba instructor, and dive, I was part of a Eyes of the Reef project where through UH, where we're always watching the reef. And I've seen the massive bleaching happening in the last decade. I've seen, Molokini Crater dying. It's dead. We lost our corals. And I care a lot about our kopala as well. Like we need an impact study done. And that was a major red flag for me when I was thinking of this, in addition to all the health issues and the money for this. But my question was, for any logical person, in my opinion, you can see all of the reasons why we don't want this. And I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about why what our leadership is saying, that why they do want it here. I mean, other than just meeting that energy goal. That's just the energy goal. I mean, or the clean hydrogen, but I mean, that's volatile.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you could maybe if there's any pro, just to give us that full, spectrum.
I mean, what they've stated is that the governor took this into consideration because of the Lahaina fire and HECO, trying to finance infrastructure. Maybe, but the thing is that this JIRA infrastructure investment is for LNG, right? And some theoretical unidentified future replacement fuel, and locking in and creating a dependency on indefinitely importing fuel, whether it's LNG or hydrogen or ammonia or whatever, and a dependency on a foreign corporation that beyond what I shared, it also has shady business practices. I mean, called in all kinds of ways. Like, I don't know if that's the only way to figure out the financing issues that HECO is facing, right? There's other options rather than just jumping in, bed in this very kind of what for me is a dangerous, situation.
Thank you. I think I will say my opinion. Sorry, Chair.
I will cut you off.
Okay. Short. Part of the beauty of our island and the history and the culture, our ahupuas had enough. We were independent. Our island can be independent again. And you just pointed out, this project would make us dependent. So it would be a move in the opposite direction of what we're trying to go to.
Okay, because we need to do good modeling. This is questions, and the community deserves the time to ask questions. This is not the time for public testimony because we don't have an action before us. Yeah. But I recognize that it is a very emotive and sensitive topic, especially that we've been handling and engaging with what to do when the crises happen because we as a society didn't choose to actually be resilient enough. We're facing it on North Shore, like we're facing it in Makaha, we're facing it in Lahaina. Like this seems like another choice that we're making that's going to lock in decades of our future community members that doesn't move us towards resiliency. Like that's what it seems. I get it. But we do have process and we do have people that are not at the same page as the board members. So if we can kindly allow your questions so that we can get to theirs and then we can get to the passionate debate, that would be greatly appreciated. So any other questions for the presenters going to Tiare Paala online?
Aloha, mahalo for your excellent presentation. I'm wondering if you and or fellow advocates on the same page as you plan to have like a public campaign, or what do you need from us to help? Because there's obviously only so many people come to the board meetings and we try to get information out. But I'm wondering if you have like an outreach marketing effort underway, and then what we can do to support that. Mahalo.
That's a wonderful question. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I mean, really, like for the last few months here, it's kind of been like this. Like I just go out to whoever will listen, and like I do my own research and come up with questions, and just try to get people, whoever will listen, whoever may be concerned, to kind of just think a little bit more critically about what's being put before them. And so if there's if anyone here, board member, like anyone in your individual capacity, official capacity, knows of groups that may be concerned about that path we seem to be heading towards, I would love the opportunity just to talk to them, right? And it doesn't have to be a public thing. I'm happy to do one-on-ones or just private conversations so you can really get into it. But that would be tremendously helpful. Otherwise, continue to do your own research, like remember England, and if you feel called upon to do so, like writing letters to the editor or just sharing what you find or what we share with others. There is a petition, bit.ly, so bit.ly/NOLNG4, the number 4HI. So bit.ly/NOLNG4HI. And then that way, if you sign up there, we can push out action alerts if and when there are things to swing at. Right now, what JIRA is doing is mostly socializing the idea. So having, they have a lot more money than me and a lot more people, but they're meeting with people individually and giving them their pitch as to why they think people should support the project. And unfortunately, I don't think they're giving really the full picture of what people should be thinking about.
Do you mind, sorry, follow-up question. Do you mind putting your contact information? If you talk to our NCO right there by the computer, he can go ahead and put your contact information in case anyone's on the chat right now. They don't have to go through our meeting minutes to pull it out, and then they can get in contact with you there when you're done with your mic time. Thank you so much. Thank you for the answer.
So, yeah, sorry. The last slide actually had my email, but I skipped that by accident. But
yeah, sometimes it's better on the. It's also better on the chat, and people can just pull it, copy and paste it off the chat. All the online folks, I'm saying. Thank you so much.
Okay, we got the request and we will drop it into the chat. And for those that are familiar with our agendas, all of the contact informations for all of our presenters are in the agenda, so everybody can reach out to them directly. Because again, this is a community forum and our primary purpose is to educate our neighbors and ourselves about issues of concern around our community and then come up with a position on things when we feel necessary, which I feel like is already bubbling. we're I got the first and the second when we get to that point, but any questions, Dr. Dudley, go right ahead. Questions, comments on the presentation? Dr. Dudley, if you could kindly try to unmute yourself, that'd be greatly helpful so we could hear your beautiful layout. So while our Kupuna is trying to figure out how to unmute, and
Can you hear me now?
Yes, there we go. Right on.
Okay.
We got you.
All right. In the first place, let me say that I support you 100%. I look forward to the future, though. I really think the solar is the answer, but I'm very worried about solar continuing to cover so much of our farmland. It just is. It's going to really hurt us in the future. Has Sierra Club done any work at all to try to get HECO to possibly put solar on rooftops? Kind of like paying people to have it on rooftops with part of the electricity that comes from it or something like that?
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Dudley. So the question is, have we tried to work HECO to, expand solar on parking lots and buildings? I was actually just reading an article about how we have so much potential to rapidly build solar if we look at the easy places, right? So the places are already paved over, buildings and things like balcony solar and so forth. Actually, a couple of experts have spoken to that. We do advocate and Lauren is our tip of the spear on this, but to try and get more access, especially to distributed energy sources that again could be cheaper for users and cleaner for our air and our grid. I don't know if you want to share about those initiatives or.
If you could kindly use the microphone, please, so that everyone online can also hear your great mana'o. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Aloha, everyone. Lauren Ballesteros, Watanabe Sierra Club. So for the past, I would say 2 years now, we've been a part of the Energy Equity Hui, which has been trying to actually urge the utility as well as the PUC to look at how we can, like I said, rooftop solar and not have big solar farms and overburden communities with big solar farms. I 100% agree with that. And then also right now I'm a part of a community working group with HECO where they have their 5-year planning for their grid, which they, I think 2 years ago had another phase of 5 plans. And because they work within like 10, 15 years ahead, right, of what the grid is going to look like. LNG hasn't been a part of that. So I've been in that conversation, like, what are you guys thinking? Which HECO, it's not in their plans because they don't consider it available. So they are pushing hard on finding ways to create renewable energy zones that are more in tune with environmental justice. So looking at, as he said, impervious covers or areas that have more wind, like East Honolulu, and they actually have right now, which I think is important, on their website, a way for people to give comments on where they think solar could go on rooftops. And then again, these areas that aren't overburdened communities over here, if that's what you meant, Wayne. So we are in those conversations with them.
Yeah, and I'll just quickly add, the Honolulu Climate Commission on its February meeting this year had a presentation from Michael Roberts. He's a professor at the University of Hawaii, and he did actually look at potential pathways to meet our demand like now with current technology using like solar, and agri-voltaics was a big part of that that vision. I know our pilot study, there's all these questions about height of these panels and if you can make them vertical and like how you drive machines past them and all that, but I'll have to say technologically wise it seems like and potentially even in terms of food security may be able to create a more balanced approach to using ag lands that could for energy development that can also be compatible with food production, and it might actually make agriculture production like cost viable right now, right? Which is one of the major challenges we have for food security.
Mahalo. Any other questions from, I see Dr. Dudley Gordet.
I just wanted to ask 2 more real short questions. The first is my real concern about the trees is Sierra Club looking into the tree problem, or are you even aware of it? Okay. And my second question is, I'm so concerned about hurricanes. Is we really need more help from Sierra Club in trying to get the legislature to move on things. Is that can that be more of a concern for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we across the board we need to. There's like 10,000 pivots and things we need to consider, knowing what the science is showing, what's going to happen, right? So we can stop all fossil fuel burning today, and we're still going to see increased destabilization of our climate, for another 100 years or so at least, right? And so, we're already seeing like pandemics. We're seeing like global instabilities, like major droughts, not just here, but where we get our food from. We're going to have to figure out how to become self-sufficient and independent, as soon as possible in all the ways. And we only have a very limited time to do that. So, yeah, I'm happy to talk with you more offline about some of those other issues and concerns to see if we can kind of bake them into our resiliency advocacy work.
Thank you.
Any questions now from the broader community for the presentation? Let's go to online to Johnny May Perry.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Wayne, is there anything currently in the legislature, any Senate bill, House bill to track regarding your presentation? Thank you.
Thank you, John. It's nice to see you. There was a bill to ban LNG. It was amended, but then didn't make its hearing deadline on the House side. So it's HB 1568. Lots of testimony in support, though. There was a bill, or is a bill, to decouple energy generation from distribution. So basically make it deregulate energy generation. And some people see it as positive because we can maybe promote more like solar, whatever. But if you look at who's testifying on that bill, and who's opposed to it, it's pretty clear that it's really aimed at trying to facilitate LNG like approvals and so forth. So that's SB 3326. It has been amended. It was amended in the House to not do that. So now it's just a study. It wasn't meant to be a study in the Senate about LNG, but now it's just a study about all the different pathways, energy pathways you might want to go forward with. So it's SB 3326 if you want to, SB 3326. Yeah, check out the testimonies on it too. It's very, very interesting.
Any other questions from the community at large? Okay, going back to board members, last rounds of questions before we can pivot to the resolution. Go to board member Medeiros. Go right ahead.
Thank you for that presentation. I just wanted to echo Dr. Bosler about her question. Pros. What are the pros for LNG? I've heard all of the negatives, and if I had to decide today based on your presentation, I'd be running scared. So I mean, there's got to be a pro to it because there are people in our state that are supporting something like this. And just the pictures itself is alarming with the explosions, especially here. We live on an island. One of those big explosions that takes out the whole West Coast, right? So I'm not in support or I'm not against. I don't know enough information except for what you just told me. But I am a big advocate of diversity. I don't want to be solo piped into just solar. There has to be other ways of energy production. And since you seem to be very smart on energy development, what are the other options? Because solar, we just had a Kona low, no sun. So we depend on solar and it's intermittent. It's not a consistent energy. We all know that. So please expound on what other alternatives are there, because we can't just rely only on solar, just like we can't just rely on gas. We have to have diversity and not because we live on an island. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. So I think that there's a first part about what are the benefits of LNG that are being beyond the infrastructure investments, their study did show that it would save a lot of money, right? Until you deal with the math error, and then you deal with the cost overruns, and then the reliability issues and the vulnerabilities to like fires and earthquakes and things like that. So I think that's the other big piece of why they're telling people it's a good idea and why people are signing on to it. Because I mean, we do pay like exorbitant energy costs, right? And so it can seem like a lifeline when someone's like, hey, we can reduce your energy bills, and so people will grab onto that. But if they don't look past what's being promised at what the risks are, then we could be grabbing onto like a bait and switch kind of situation or a false hope. In terms of other energy, how do we so the thing with this LNG and oil and the fossils is a, like you said, we want firm energy, right? We don't want intermittent sources. So the big challenge with solar or any other renewable is storage, right? As an engineer, we're all trying to figure out how can we store energy, right? Store it in methanol, store it in water that you pump up and that flow down at night when there's no sun, but then you just have you have the stored water that turns into energy when it flows downhill. In terms of and so along those lines, I think battery technology is what we really need to start investing in. So right now we use lithium-based batteries largely, which is a little bit problematic because lithium itself is very flammable, and then you have to it's a rare mineral, right? So you go to deep sea mining or something to get lithium. But there's very promising, exciting storage technology for batteries, including sodium-ion batteries, and sodium is sought, right? It's super plentiful, as well as iron air, and iron air is also very common mineral. I think the problem is the people investing in energy development are unfortunately the people with money, and that's going to be the fossil fuel industries, right? So I think it's incumbent upon governments and public agencies to invest in the things that is really going to reflect the public interest, including these kinds of new storage technologies, which are, and not to say they aren't getting better and better, right? Like we are seeing advancements in solar technology, in storage technology, and it's just going to continue on. It's just like, how much do we want to invest in that to make sure we can get to a better place quicker, rather than hoping that, the fossil fuel industry will invest in something that's going to put them out of business. And sorry, Lauren's also thinking about this.
Yeah, and I'm really passionate about this. And again, as I mentioned, integrated grid planning and the grid, I think there's a new philosophy that communities are trying to push the utility to think of the decentralization. Because right now, how our grid works is these big power plants or these big projects, these big solar farms to power the whole island. But as communities have pushed and said, where the power demand is not in West Oahu. Like HECO has shown that the energy demand is relatively low and consistently low in West Oahu, because I've worked a lot in that community. And so they're powering the demand of Honolulu, right? So trying to push how we can decentralize and regionalize and think in the Ahupua'a mindset of how we have a grid is actually really the real way to think how everyone can have their fair share and break up our system. So again, it's not this like very just big power everything, and that would be more resilient. So I think that's a kind of, again, philosophy and change that HECO and the Public Utilities Commission is trying to get towards, because we keep on thinking big demand, what are the big projects to power it? But that's not where we're trying to go with that. And as Wayne mentioned, there's different sectors that have the big demand. So how do we target them, reduce them, instead burdening communities to do that? And I did want to just add, in the JERA agreement, their big claim to cost savings, because that was the big carrot, right? Cost savings, because everybody wants that relief. It was about $340 a year for an average household would save using LNG, which now that math is gone, but that was the original claim, just 340, roughly $33 a month, which again doesn't account for all the other stuff. So I just wanted to throw those in there, Wayne.
Yeah, decentralization is, and there's really cool things happening on Maui to help people, especially after the all the rebuilding and stuff. Like, people are working on these new models where you can have like microgrids, and Molokai has a really amazing approach too, where they're actually, the people of Molokai are running the grid now. They're hiring their own people, and it's it took a lot of work to get them there, just because they were funding HECO for the RFP. But yeah, there's promising developments that unfortunately I think would be hindered if we do put all of our energy and regulatory resources and everything in this big giant LNG.
Okay, go right ahead, Member Carol England.
Thank you.
Questions? Yeah, questions.
I do have a question. So it was your first slide. And you saw that that boat
Mhm.
that was out there and it pumps in. Okay, so the next slide showed the explosions. Now, did the explosions happen on the boat out in sea, or does it happen at those grids, or that whatever that stack of, I guess, is plants? Does it happen there, or does it happen out in sea? I'm just curious.
The pictures I've shown were mostly from pipelines. So, as pipelines get older or rust, there's a hole or there's an earthquake, it could be leaks. And then once that leaky gas hits a flame or something, or a spark or something hits it and creates a spark, then it just blows up, right? So that's, and the same thing with the LNG facilities themselves. Often what they have to do is vent methane, right? Because there's too much pressure to vent methane. That creates all this smog in surrounding areas. But if, again, it hits a flame source, or some other thing, like a chemical reaction, or then you have this big giant 450-foot fireball that we saw in Freeport at Geo's facility there.
So methane smells like rotten eggs. Would we be smelling that venting out of these facilities, or do they clean it up?
I think it depends on, we haven't seen, I think it depends on like how much of it is in the air, right? And like how then so there's it creates smog. So it's what's on level ozone. So methane itself changes when sunlight hits it, and there's chemical reactions, and it creates smog, which is, if you've ever been to LA or something, like, yeah. And if as trade winds die, or we're in like leeward areas without good wind like blowing through, then we could see even more exposure to not just smog and methane, methane created smog, but also all the other constituents of liquefied natural gas.
Thank you.
Any other community questions, concerns? Okay, so here's a few that came to mind when I saw your presentation. When you talked about the public investment versus JERA's investment, can you explain what you understand the proposal to be versus who's paying for what? And then finally, who's owning that and who's maintaining it? Because you just talked about startup costs, right? Like,
yeah. So I mean, it's not clear, and they're actually, when they get pressed by the legislators, HSCO and JERA aren't really, they don't want to commit to a particular, how the contracting is going to work, like who's going to be, where the prices are going to be tied to oil, whether it be spot prices or fixed costs, which is probably going to be like a lot higher than if you have like a Brent-based cost model. What we've seen in other places though is it's not the fuel itself that gets you in terms of cost, it's infrastructure, right? And then so if JERA is not going to just give us $2 billion and be like, hey, here's Merry Christmas, right? It's a loan essentially. They're funding the capital costs, and the expectation is that through our rates they get paid back. And that's another thing too that hasn't been mentioned is the cost savings it's not gonna be like we're gonna have cost savings right away. Like it's gonna take a long time to accrue the costs. We're again a $2 billion investment in infrastructure. It's that you want a long operational period, and then if there's cost overruns. Depending on how the contract's written, I'm assuming JERA is going to make sure that they're not left holding the bag if there's unexpected things, and essentially that means it's going to be passed on to PICO. I mean, the PUC hopefully has some protection, can impose some protections, but ultimately, they're not going to drop this money unless they're going to be reassured that they're not also taking a huge risk. Yeah, unfortunately, and I think by design they haven't put anything really specific forward, but. They other than that YL thing that just got knocked down by the PUC, but ultimately I think like in other places we're going to be seeing a huge liability that's going to be placed on us, like the risk is going to be placed on us, because why would JERA let the risk be placed on them?
okay, so while you were answering questions and for pros, because it came up a few times from board members and community members, so we took the time to go to the Waste Energy office in order to clarify what they're saying is the pros. So let's just get all on the same page about what they're saying the pros is. If we can start from the top. So their first major point is that liquid natural gas is natural gas cooled to extremely low temperatures to turn into a liquid. So it's easier to be compact. So that's their first pro, like it's compact. Okay, great. And LNG can be shipped overseas in specialized insulated tankers. So those are pros. I'm failing to see how that's a pro for us, but like that's pros that they listed. Okay, let's move forward. Going down, why is Hawaii considering LNG? Let's go to the next graphic. Yeah. So this is one that we heard you say was grid reliability, because they need firm energy. Solar and other renewables is intermittent. Okay, that one makes sense. That Hawaii's aging oil-fired power plants are inefficient and slow, and that presumably upgrading them to use LNG would be better than current practice. So the pro is using liquid natural gas is better than diesel and current oil usage. Okay, that's another pro. And it means that on the other side, LNG acts as a transition fuel to support retirement of those. Also, so if we use LNG, then we can stop the bad oil and we can stop the usage of the diesel, and we can also potentially use the infrastructure for alternative fuels like green hydrogen, which Sierra Club has a very specific position on right now, renewable natural gas. Not sure what is renewable natural gas. Is that like biogas? And the reason why it's like we know about biogas here because we've had presentations for people that want to bring in that as part of our firm energy production off of corn in the Midwest. And then the final one is LNG infrastructure involves upfront investment. It is cheaper fuel and less volatile fuel compared to LSFO than diesel. Fuel savings would offset upfront costs. So that's a pro. So this is from our Hawaii State Energy Office, and those are kind of the pros. Unless anybody else saw other pros that's there. So just putting into context why Sierra Club, from my perspective, is struggling to share pros is because that's the official fact sheet from the Hawaii State Energy Office on why LNG is good for us. They have insulated ships and it's more compact. But we don't know how that helps us. I mean, does anybody know? Do you know how that helps us?
No, and in fact, like the complications of storing and shipping LNG, because you keep it really, really cold. It wants to be a gas, right? So you gotta keep it cold, cold, cold. That's a whole other thing. And hydrogen, so LNG is methane, but it's like carbons, it's like a big molecule. Hydrogen is like the top left of the elemental table. It's small. They keep it even colder. You can't, which means you can't use the same kind of steel, same kind of turbines don't work. It's just in terms of reusable infrastructure, all the experts I talked to on the continent are like, no, this doesn't make any sense. Like that $500 million of benefit you're going to get by reusing the infrastructure. And that's what Professor Fripp also said, the guy that caught the $2 billion error is like, this $500 million of benefits, it's based on like nothing realistic.
Okay, so I think I have two more questions. If you could help us with, the first is in the last decade or so, has any community that's trying to be more energy efficient or engagement, created LNG as part of their renewable or energy sustainability plan? And is there any hard data from that community to see that they actually got cost savings, that you know
of? So Japan, after Fukushima, the thought was, okay, we don't like to do nuclear, so we're gonna try other sources, and that's how JERA got formed, and they bought all this methane from all over the place, right? And so, but now we see Japan they don't want the methane anymore, right? I don't know if it's because JERA's facilities keep catching on fire, or it's too expensive, too volatile. Other places did kind of pivot towards LNG. So Germany, for example, is one, and they're screwed. I just talked to this. He says they're uber screwed. They're uber screwed. He didn't say screwed. He used a more vulgar term, but the cost is they're just eating the cost right now. After the Russia-Ukraine war, for example, the LNG cost doubled, right? And then now with Iran, it's up 70-80%. It might be higher now. It's just because it's tied to it's tied to the cost of oil. So I think there's a lot of optimism at first, and then people start hitting these walls. Even Puerto Rico, our friends in Puerto Rico, they're having I almost saw the Super Bowl with the electricity things going out to reflect their grid instability. And that's just because a big part of it is because they are dependent on an LNG supplier as well. So they're an LNG import jurisdiction.
Thank you. So the last question I have is, from your engagement on this topic, have you all found any good best case alternatives for build outs? Because everything the Hawaii State Energy Office is pivoting towards is better than current status quo. Is it better than grid build out with the innovative solutions that you've talked about from Molokai and other areas? Is it better than putting in wave technology or actually doing low grade geothermal out in Waimanalo because if they want to, because it's actually a place where it could be done, is it better than putting windmills on top of people's houses with geodesic turbines that come out of Japan and that's not actually been copyrighted or trademarked or protected as intellectual property because they just want people to generate electricity on their own? Have you seen that from any of your work? Is it?
I thought there was a really interesting presentation by Yuhiro at the Climate Commission in February, where they compared the IGP plan, and he had worked on that personally, right? And so he had helped advise on that, and he had some criticisms about its demand projections and how they thought they would fill the demand. But he also compared that to the plan that was in the HSCEO report for LNG, and which was way worse. Like he said, this doesn't make any sense. He actually said he talked to the HSCEO staff and asked them, why did you inflate demand like at the end, right? Why is it so much like, and they said that the governor told them to make it work. So there are plans out there. I think there's lots of, and then Lauren can also probably speak to some of the other, what's potentially out there. Things are still in development, still crystallizing, and as I mentioned, there's also other opportunities. I think other approaches in terms of maybe helping people get even if you're in a condo, if you have a battery in your condo, you can store energy there, and then if the sun goes out, then you have some supply, and then it's the distributed energy, so it's not all eggs in one basket kind of thing.
Okay, awesome. I think that was super helpful. Any final questions from the community or board members? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much for the presentation. At this time, because we have a resolution regarding this matter, without objection, the chair would like to take it out of order and bring resolution 2025 3E, a draft opposing LNG imports or infrastructure in Hawaii until an independent review and safeguards are completed. Resolution to discussion at this time. The chair recommends that we do take action on this, and recognizing that this resolution doesn't say that we're forever going to oppose LNG. We're just saying these are our concerns and we want them to be heard. And if you want our support, you need to do these things. And the chair also makes note that for this resolution, I would like to amend it by adding in clauses to reflect members Bosler's and Carol England's concerns on public health studies verification and on community engagement for neighborhoods of impact, including our board, before we lend support. Is there a motion to adopt as amended? It's been moved by England, seconded by Bosler. At this time, we are opening public testimony for this resolution. Anybody wishing to speak and share your passionate opinions on whether or not we should oppose LNG imports or infrastructure in Hawaii until we figure out if the math actually maths. We figure, come talk to the community that's actually going to be impacted. Make sure that the off-gassing isn't going to hurt our community members, because we've had these conversations before about current H-Power engagement, and they have scrubs on their stuff, and our community is sensitive to. I can only imagine if they're just off-gassing straight on methane, what would happen? I think it's a conversation worth having. Anybody wishing to testify? Everybody seems to be on the same page. Okay, now public testimony going once, public testimony going twice, public testimony going 3 times, and now open for board discussion. Anyone wishing to speak in favor or opposition? Okay, go right ahead, member Carol. I'm sorry, Sheila Medeiros.
I just wanted to go back to my original statement, I guess, with the presenter is I don't want anything limited. I want diversity. So I don't know enough about LNG to say yes or no. I would like to see both the state rep and Sierra Club together so we could actually get a full picture of LNG. I mean, if I'm just weighing in and I'm saying yes to support this and only heard one side of the equation, then I'm not giving it a fair share. I mean, honestly, his presentation sold me, but I don't think I could make an honest, a fair vote if I don't hear the other side. Thank you.
Mahalo. Member Sheila Medeiros brings up a really good point, because as we are trying to diversify our energy, like we want to see how everything can work. Noting again that the resolution doesn't say we're opposing forever. We're just saying we're opposing until you check these boxes, which our community has made very clear with other development projects that we want you to come and talk story with us and share with us what's going on. Like, so, yes, Member Carol Ingley, go right ahead.
Okay, so I just wanted, so is this the point where I can make, okay? So I just wanted to finish with my one sentence to remember. Our community deserves accurate numbers, clean air, and a seat at the table. And right now, we have none of the three. So this is the reason why I oppose.
Mahalo. Dr. Amy Bosler, go right ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate the resolution calling for environmental impact study and also a study on how this will impact our health on the west side. We've heard time and time again how H-Power and the dumps on this side are negatively impacting our communities without getting compensation for these impacts. And now this seems like it's another issue that's coming up where we're powering, as our presenter said, we're powering Honolulu. We're not the ones demanding this power. We don't need this in our community, but we're the one footing the environmental and the health costs. So I think that alone makes me very cautious of being supportive of LNG. Thank you.
Mahalo. Let's go to Board Member Tialitala on WebEx.
Aloha. I do have some familiarity with LNG because I'm very into like the green space, climate, waste, energy, all that. I oppose very strongly the notion of introducing one more high risk variable into our purview because we can barely get the basics right. And I say this with a lot of respect for those who work hard through the bureaucracy, through the regulation, through the politicking and all that, but we can't even do regular stuff well. So why would we think that we are apt? Where would we get those confidence from? It's a pipe dream almost to think that we're going to do this without experiencing any of the risks that are well documented. So I am also for, I acknowledge the issues, the issues of needing energy, of needing diversification, of needing jobs, all those things. But we're swinging for the fences here when we can barely take baby steps. So just on all these other concerns aside, just on can we actually do it? Can we actually do it? No, we can't. We can't even get a road built on the hill. So let's stick to the baby stuff first, and we'll see how we do. But the fact that the state doesn't even approach, I mean, follow the money, right? So who's my next question? Who's going to profit from this the most? Maybe that's not a question we should really ask at this point, but for a lot of reasons, we shouldn't even think about entertaining this project at this point. Thank you.
Mahalo. Any other board comments? Seeing on the reflection that comes to mind is like, I really want to believe in our community and our leadership trying to do good by us and want to give them the benefit of the doubt. So please, to the governor's office and to the Hawaii State Energy Office, like come and talk to us, help us to understand and better understand what's going on, because our community has been down this road before. We're still dealing with the decades of consequences of policy that was made on us from yesteryear, from the siting of the industrial park to our current waste management structures. Like everyone benefits and at our cost. And it would be super awesome if we didn't have to shoulder that cost alone. So it's an open invitation to come to the board, and I will speak with our governor's representative in order to share that. Come and talk story with us. But the thing that comes back to my mind from this presentation, outside of all of the flashy pictures, is the fact that JERA is a Japanese company. And the Japanese government has chosen not to go the path of LNG. So, so that already makes me cautious that they don't want to do it in their own homeland, but they want to come here. So the bar is a little higher for me. And I don't think what we're asking is unreasonable. That they provide us the mapping that they can guarantee our health of our community members is at least the same level of scrutiny as every other industrial partner here in the industrial park. And how is it going to benefit us outside of the construction jobs, which I'm not even sure if we're going to have, because I don't know if we have the technical expertise to do that. Or the long-term jobs. I don't know if we have the expertise to do that too. So it's, and I would really appreciate to see cost comparisons to what would it look like if we just gave a $1.5 billion grant to our community members to actually do distributed energy production. Versus this, like, how would that change the equation? Like, and then not just in energy costs, but in resiliency. Like, so these are the things going through my mind, and I welcome them to come and have the conversation with us. But until then, I feel very comfortable with supporting this resolution. That said, let's go to the vote. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Say ole. Any abstentions? Say kanalua. Chair recognizes a kanalua from board member Sheila Medeiros. And otherwise, everyone else is aye. Okay, so the resolution passes as amended. Mahalo. Thank you very much to our presenters for continuing this conversation. Acknowledging that the community conversation has been led through legacy media and from the highest political offices. But on the ground here, our community pays attention about how things impact us. So mahalo to our community members for being vigilant. Now let's get back to the agenda and get through. And we start with, for the first time in a long time, before we get to board business, we get public input. So here's the time. Community members, come share your thoughts, mana'o, dreams, questions, concerns. The floor is yours. And seeing none, then we invite up our electeds to come up afterwards. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. Go right ahead, community member. Good.
Aloha, Malia Gustin with the Nanakuli Ma'ili Neighborhood Board, your neighboring community. Mahalo for putting on such a good board meeting this evening. I wanted to introduce a resolution that was adopted by our board March 17th, a resolution requesting the amendment of the neighborhood board boundaries to include Ko'olina within the Nanakuli Ma'ili Neighborhood Board District. In this resolution, the Neighborhood Commission Office had asked that all the boards specify and clarify the board boundaries. And it's listed, if you go to the NCO website, for clarity where those bounds end. But Nanakuli is heavily impacted by multiple things that occur, both with development in Ko'olina as well as the Waimanalo Gulch. And so this extension is not to remove Ko'olina or the Waimanalo Gulch area from the Kapolei board, but to allow us to take on the kako together for us to be able to address whenever there's development or changes that are affecting those zones, that we as neighboring boards come together to make those decisions. So within the Neighborhood Commission Office, they're going to be having a meeting in April. So this resolution, we're requesting that the neighborhood board with Kapolei, Makakilo-Honokai, Hale area allow for that inclusion. And so that when the maps are adjusted on the NCO website, the boundaries are specified, that we can work together. So thank you for your time. I will leave a copy for you folks here.
Mahalo. Follow-up question before you send out the copies is the preference of the neighborhood board, sibling neighborhood board, to share the jurisdiction over that area, or is the preference to completely take that
So
area?
that's the discussion here. Our preference would be to share
Okay.
that
Got it.
responsibility as both Ko'olina goes to both areas.
Right.
But when we look at our Senate and our representative zones that they govern, we see that Representative Kila oversees Ko'olina and then Senator DeCourt oversees Ko'olina area. And so when they come to our board, we're not seeing Ko'olina coming to our board anymore. But previously in years, especially when Aulani was established, the Disney resort, when they established that, they came to our board and they also assured that hiring was going to be a certain percentage of members within our community district. And also they established a park at Nanakuli Beach Park. The playground there is actually from Aulani. And so when decisions are being made as far as what is happening and developing in Ko'olina, that's a shared burden for both of our boards. So that we don't have presentations coming here and getting approved, presentations coming there and getting approved, when we could work together to do some of that. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Any questions for the presenter?
Yeah, see. So we're specifying, because on the map that we have now, it they're saying the bounds are at Waimanalo Gulch, when normally we always had Ko'olina at Nanakuli board. So yeah, so we just want to make that specification with the neighborhood commission office to be inclusive.
Awesome. Okay. Sounds good. We'll put that on the agenda for action so we can send testimony into the neighborhood board commission regarding the request.
Mahalo.
Yeah, mahalo. Let's go to public input. Is this question, sorry, from Dr. Dudley or board member Tiare? There's public input.
Question,
Okay, go right ahead.
I love the proposal. Are there other boards that work together similarly that share Kuleana of areas of precedent? I'm just wondering.
Yes, there's other boards that have not yet divided their portions where there is still overlap. Nanakuli Maili Neighborhood Board was the last board to separate from another board, which was the Waianae Coast Neighborhood Board. So we're number 36, and that was established in 2008. And since then, other boards have not been divided or established. And so with the Neighborhood Commission Office, a request went out so that we can make clear lines between the boards and also make necessary changes if there are boards that need to divide based on the new developments and changes that happen over time.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Mahalo nui.
Dr. Dudley, question? You're muted. If you could kindly unmute yourself, that'll be greatly appreciated. Okay, let's see if he gets it in the next few
There we
seconds.
go.
There
Okay.
you go.
Okay. I think Jeffrey has to send me something in order for me to unmute. I would be concerned about joint meetings in order to handle problems. I think it's a good idea for us both to take on the both areas, but I do foresee that, if something comes up this month, does that mean we have to get the boards together for it? If something comes up next month, do we have to get the boards together for it? I just wouldn't write that into the resolution. I'd be careful to make sure that the boards can talk separately about it so that we don't have to have joint meetings. That's all.
Thank you. Yes, our resolution does not specify joint meetings. It just specifies the bounds of Nanakuli-Ma'ili Neighborhood Board. And it doesn't in any way affect the Kapolei, Makakilo-Honokai, Hale bounds that currently exist. And it also does not specify that we're required to have joint board meetings in any way. That would be the decision of each chair of each board respectively. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, there's question from board member Sheila Medeiros. Go ahead.
Actually, it's more of a comment. I actually think it's a splendid idea, simply because Waimanalo Gulch is a huge issue. And when you have two boards who are sharing the same area, it only strengthens the position. So I think it's great. Thank you.
Thank you. And we actually just had Waimanalo Gulch and the DES present at our last board meeting with updates as to where the next landfill site is. So you're welcome to view the YouTube to get an update for that.
Awesome. Let's go to board member Tiali Ta'ala.
Sorry, one more thing now. So on a functional level, do you imagine that when it comes to items regarding Ko'olina and Waimanalo Gulch, that they would whoever the presenters would be required to come to both boards rather than the boards coming together to meet jointly? Yeah. Are we? I mean,
Well,
just
as of
like
now, that's what's happening. So
do you think that
they're
always
they're
happens?
presenting to Kapolei and then being asked to attend our Nanakuli-Ma'ili neighborhood board after the fact, once development has already moved forward. But Nanakuli-Ma'ili is the impact zone. When something occurs there, it's not really affecting, especially when it comes to traffic, what's going through the area. It's more so affecting Nanakuli-Ma'ili. Thank you.
Mahalo, appreciate it, Chair. Any final questions, comments, or concerns? Thank you for sharing this with us. Oh, go right ahead, Nick Ferrer.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think the Waimanalo Gulch has been something that's a bigger concern for the west side. I think Ko'olina generally takes care of their own issues, being kind of a private property type of thing. And plus, I don't think we've ever had the House rep ever set foot in our meeting here, as if we don't exist. So I'm good for cutting it loose and letting them have it. So that's my opinion.
Mahalo. Thank you so much for the presentation. I think I can commit to putting onto the agenda supporting the action of your neighborhood board and that we have no opposition potentially for you to have joint custody over this keiki. And you will have them on the weekends and we will have them during the weekdays and take them to school for our Ko'olina keiki. We could use a lot of, nurturing for the community. And then I think we might be able to work on some creative ways for Waimanalo Gulch and Ko'olina specific developments that impact us both to coordinate so that we don't have to have two separate board meetings going forward in the future. So I can commit to putting those things on the agenda. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Mahalo for coming.
Mahalo.
Okay, any other public input? Let's welcome out our electeds if there's any online. Okay, Leticia Hernandez online, and then from Senator Gabbard's office, and then we'll come back to Rep. Diamond Garcia in person.
Hi, can
Leticia,
you hear me?
all yours. Yep, go right ahead.
Hi, thank you for taking the time. I'm a resident of Kapolei area, villages of Kapolei in specific. I'm not sure if it's something that the board could help out with as far as the villages of Kapolei being 4,000 plus homeowners. And we are entering a time of, I guess, electronic elections, electronic voting. And there's not a lot of information being disseminated from the VOCA currently, but I just wanted to know if anybody had any insight into, I guess, the voting parameters, specifically being that if it's going electronic voting, if there's, I have some things written down, like, who oversees it, if there's double elections, if there's election altering, like anything in that category. As far as, I just want to make sure that what happened last year with the elections doesn't repeat itself. And if the board has any type of, I guess, resources that I could look into to try and make sure that many homeowners that have questions or concerns, that we could actually voice our opinion. Because as of right now, there is no public or homeowner forum in our board of directors monthly meetings. That's all been retracted, so we're not even allowed to speak there. This is the only public forum that we're given to basically voice our concerns, and hopefully it falls upon ears that are trying to help guide us. But that's, I guess, basically one of my biggest concerns, being that I am 7 months into requesting financial statements and haven't gotten it. So I'm not really getting any help from VOCA's side. So I'm hoping that the board could somehow offer some assistance. That's all I have.
Mahalo, thank you so much for raising the concerns. I heard at least 3 of them. The first was whether or not there's mana'o or experience for electronic voting for homeowners association, and any guidance that our community member could receive. The second was, is there any way or any help potentially that the board or community could provide in requesting a homeowners forum for homeowner associations within our jurisdiction. And the last is to see if there's anything we can do in order to help with getting financials from a homeowners association within our jurisdiction. So floor is open to community members and board members that wish to respond on those 3 things. Okay. And the chair will start. So what the board could do is we could draft up resolutions for recommendations for all of our homeowner associations for certain practices that we think would be good within our jurisdiction, including a homeowners forum, and then we can bring it to our community and see whether or not it's something that they would like. As I've heard from the community members saying that they don't get a voice at the VOCA board meetings, we could tailor the resolution specifically for VOCA and then allow VOCA members to come here and identify themselves and then voice those concerns, so that there is at least a public record of the fact that multiple people from their community association is expressing some type of concerns, which we could help with, facilitate with, then collating and synthesizing and sending off to their board. So that is something that we could do in the community forum if that is a request made. Likewise, we can assist with making requests for financials and recommendations for best practices for homeowner associations within our jurisdiction. So those are resolutions and letters that we could do, but we would have to put it on the agenda for us to take action. Any other mana'o?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, so please reach out to me offline, and we can coordinate if that's any of those activities or something you like us to put on the April schedule.
Will do. Mahalo.
Any other public input before? Okay, Mike, are you coming up? Okay, Representative Guy. Okay, Johnny May online before Representative Garcia.
No, Chair, I just wanted to offer some comment about the previous speaker's concern. Perhaps you could contact DECA. DCCA is a government agency. The email is dcca@hawaii.gov. Thank you.
Thank
Mahalo,
you.
thank you for providing that contact information. And now let's welcome up Representative Diamond Garcia.
Aloha Chair, board members, and those online and those of you here. Thank you for being here this evening. I'll try and keep it brief. We just got over the mid-session point of this session. So out of 3,000-ish bills introduced, we're probably down to about 400 to 500 right now. And in the next couple of weeks, so keep whittling down, and further down. On our newsletter, which you should have gotten, there's a QR code on the top right. Please scan that and take our mid-session survey. We're very interested to see your thoughts and your positions on the biggest controversial subjects that's making its way through this session. If you have any damage from the recent flooding, there's a QR code on here as well to please scan to inform our state and city partners for data collection. A reminder, the Principal Hill Parade is on March 28th. Please engage, please show up and support the community. On the back side, I go over the recent controversy over the push from the governor and the majority this session to repeal the 2024 tax cuts. I was pretty firm in my opposition to that. I think when you promise the state something over 7 years, it's not right to just come back 2 years later and say, never mind, and pull that back. I think it's an insult. And so there's a QR code here as well to watch the full floor debate. We do go back and forth with my colleagues on the floor for and against. Also on the right side, there's a QR code to scan that to watch our Hawaii News Now interview, which I basically gave a recap of the mid-session of the session so far and some recaps for the mid-session point. Some of our resolutions that we introduced this year that's specific to the district, HR 69 is calling for the DOE to establish a working group to propose ideas to the legislature for a West Oahu K through 12 Hawaiian immersion campus. We are building more Hawaiian homesteads out here. West Oahu, the Waianae Coast, Kapolei-Ewa has the largest concentration of Hawaiians in the world. Right now, it's still on the Waianae Coast, but once Kapolei homesteads are fully built out, it will be right in our district. And so we want to make sure that when we're planning ahead in the decades to come, we have a K through 12 Hawaiian immersion campus here in West Oahu. HR 150 urges any business that's operating on Hawaiian homelands like Ho'omaka Marketplace, for example, or others, Kamakanali'i, to have a portrait of Prince Kuhio displayed in a prominent position, because if it was not for Prince Kuhio, all of this would not be possible. Tomorrow is Prince Kuhio Day as well. Also, about 2 years ago, some concerns came from Voka residents about missing street signs in Malanai, Ailoa, that's been missing for years. We contacted the state on that. Hunter's over here from our office. He worked hard on that. And the good news is most of those street signs, I think 99% have been reinstalled throughout Voka. So the street signs are there. It took them a little while. They actually ordered the signs and forgot the Hawaiian okinas and kahakos, which is a violation of state law. So they have to reorder them again. That just shows you the state's way of doing business. And then also update Voka, the last 2 months, especially with lots of rain, the vegetation in Voka has just really grown really high on Kealanani, Kama'aha. The grass was almost 6 feet high. Good news is, as of today, they were out this morning and pretty much all of Voka on the state jurisdiction side has been trimmed and cut. And then lastly, is it May 6th or May 7th, Hunter? Town Hall. May 6th. On May 6th, please mark your calendars. We're having a town hall that's being hosted by myself, Senator Mike Gabbard, and Councilmember Tupola. After 30 years, the state will be transferring jurisdiction in Voka to the city and county for roads, finally. And also, this will allow Voka to now take over the maintenance of the areas that HHFTC had, which they just neglected for so many years. So there's progress. I want to thank Senator Gabbard and the council member for working with us to make that happen. And that's pretty much it for our update. Are there any questions or comments from the board or community?
Mahalo, Representative, for the update. Any question, comments, or concerns for him? Let's go to Board Member Sheila Medeiros.
Thank you. I really appreciate this update. I actually appreciate you and Representative Alcos that comes here regularly to update their community in person. And I just want to touch on 149. What is that all about?
149, HR, that's House Resolution 149 regarding the Makakilo Drive Extension Project. This was a companion that I introduced on the House side. Senator Gabbard did the Senate version. And this basically urges the city and the city and county. Let me just get you the exact language here. I have it right here because I thought you would ask the question. It is urging the city and county of Honolulu to take necessary steps to finalize, prioritize, and materialize the Makakilo Drive extension project. So you can go to the Capitol website and enter HR 149 to read the entire resolution. There's been lots of talk about this over the years, and so I'm happy to work alongside Senator Gabbard's office on introducing the House companion to his resolution.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Yes.
Mahalo. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Let's go to Dr. Dudley online. Well, Dr. Dudley is.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
I'm really happy to see you and Senator Gabbard and Councilwoman Tupola working together. And this meeting is something I would like to attend, but I'm not sure exactly what's going to be happening. Is it only VOCA that is going to be handled, or are you going to handle other issues?
Good question, Dr. Dudley. This meeting is specific to VOCA. We're going to go over a few things. The first being Senate Bill 662, which passed last year, and that was a bill introduced by myself and Senator Gabbard, which did pass and was signed by Governor Green. And that bill allowed HPD and local law enforcement to enforce the traffic code on VOCA roads, which has been a problem for so many years, which is why there's been so many abandoned vehicles left in Kapolei, because HPD had no jurisdiction. Well, that changed. They now have jurisdiction to enforce the traffic code, and that's been happening. The second point is just recently the city, with Mayor Blangiardi's office, signed a MOU, a memorandum of understanding with the state to transfer the roads from the state to the city. And so we're going to be going over those two things and the future of VOCA. And then, of course, the big concern is maintenance of sidewalks and tree trimming and all of that. So we're going to give the plan to the residents of VOCA. It is public, so you're more than welcome to attend. And this will be taking place at the VOCA Rec Center, again, May 6th from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. and everyone is welcome.
Okay.
Mahalo. Let's do Board Member McFerra.
Yeah, on the issue of 149, is it, regarding the Makakilo Drive completion? What is going to keep this from getting killed again by Kila or the Transportation Committee in either deferring it right away or not scheduling any hearings like they've done in the past?
That's a good question. You know, that's one of the issues that people bring up, not just with that chair, but just the entire legislature, is the ability for one chair to make a decision to defer bills or pass bills. And I've talked to Chair Kila, and it does sound like he's inclined to hear the resolution. It does help that our legislators work with our Senate counterparts. And so in this case, it's not just my office, but Senator Gabbard as well, who's also pushing this. And so we do hope that this resolution is scheduled for a hearing. And if it does pass, then that's a good thing. But again, it is the chair's prerogative to make that decision to defer a bill or resolution.
Yeah, because I think it's pretty darn brave to bring that forward. Also, with this mid-session survey, I took the survey, and people at home, if they're watching this, can they find that survey at www.repgarcia.com?
Yes, repgarcia.com, or scan the QR code. Yes.
Okay, great. That way my folks and constituents can take that survey as well. Thank you.
Yes, no, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Let's go to Dr. Amy Balzar.
Thank you. How can we help with HR 149 as a board or as a community? Do you need do we need testimonials or what can we do to help support?
You can call the chair, the office of Chair Kila, and request that the reso be scheduled for a hearing. Also, the vice chair of transportation, as they pretty much handle resolutions. So maybe you want to call both offices, the chair and vice chair, to request a hearing of HR 149, and not just the House one, but also Senator Gabbard's Senate companion as well, because it's good to have two vehicles moving, because if one dies, one is still alive in the other chamber.
Let's go to member Carol England.
Hi,
Hi.
I did not know there was an HR 67, and
Yes.
that's a domestic violence is kind of dear to me. So in a nutshell, I know it's late, 5 seconds. What is
Sure.
this resolution about?
Yeah, this
Supporting survivors.
this actually was introduced because our office worked with a domestic violence survivor from our district, actually, who basically went through the process of courts and with dealing with, I believe, being abused, and then feeling that the local court system wasn't really having her best interest during the process, and so she gave us some recommendations of what could be improved. And this basically just asks that there be adequate resources available to victims of domestic violence throughout the process. So this would urge the courts, the judges, the judiciary to link up with nonprofits and other organizations to assist victims throughout the process, and try to just make sure that victims have all the resources they have that will be available to them.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Well, let's go to Dr. Amy Bosler.
Sorry, thank you. Can you also just speak briefly on HR 68, the Education Freedom Tax Credit?
Yes, that's a good one. And there's an article to the right of that kind of goes over it. So last year, Congress passed the Big Beautiful Bill, and those bills are hundreds and hundreds of pages long. But a very small portion of that bill was the establishment of the Federal Education Freedom Tax Credit Program. And this tax credit program basically gives people a federal tax credit if they donate to scholarship programs for private education. So no money lost to the state. This is all federal. And so the only thing is the governor of each state must choose to opt in. So far, Governor Green has said that he is not opting Hawaii in, which would mean our residents would lose out on this federal tax credit, and the resources would go to other states. Again, there is no fiscal impact to the state of Hawaii and our coffers. This is all federal. And there's been red and blue states, so it's not a partisan thing. Many blue states have chosen to opt in to give their residents the opportunity to receive this federal tax credit, and Hawaii is not one of those. And so this resolution is urging Governor Green to reconsider his decision. And myself and Senator Brenton Awa had introduced the companion in the Senate.
Okay, let's go to Leticia Hernandez online.
Hi, I just wanted to first of all say thank you. We did get at least some of our speed signs in the VOCA area also changed. And then there was information disseminated today at the meeting that HHFDC has agreed to monthly cuts of the grass. But I guess my question is for the meeting on May 6th. Is that only to discuss the MOU, or is that also to discuss the 5-year strategic plan that is set in place, discussing, the financial responsibility being handed over to the VOCA?
That is definitely included. So it's all things pertaining to the transfer and what will happen after the transfer. I know there's many questions from the community of how VOCA will handle maintenance, what the plan is, and so all those questions are definitely welcome at the meeting. We do plan to have the mayor's office present, certain city departments present who will be handling this, law enforcement present for the towing of vehicles, and my office, Senator Gabbard, and the council member's office as well. So any question that is VOCA related, traffic enforcement related, 5-year plan related, it's all welcome at the May 6th town hall meeting.
Okay, would you happen to know if the school, specifically Kapolei Middle School, because there is talks about the non-potable and potable water. I believe there is a site visit this coming Saturday. I was informed at 9 o'clock with the board of directors, in regards to taking that partial over as well, and the impacts that will have to the Kamakana Ali'i as well as the school, because it's in that shared passageway or whatever. I just want to make sure that all the people that need to be at this meeting to make sure that our answers are addressed are actually going to be there.
Thank you for that. Our office was not made aware of it. I did hear about the meeting from certain community members, but our office was not officially invited to any meeting from the DOE or others. So we can definitely follow up and make contact to the DOE to make sure that our community residents has a voice at the table via our office. And so we'll work on that. But to inform you, there was no formal invite to our office.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Board Member Sheila Medeiros.
I just want to make a comment so that the public at large can understand. I just want to say thank you, because I want to acknowledge how you do legislation right. And bringing HR 149 to our attention right now, that has to do with Makakilo Drive extension, and you working alongside a senator, is how it's done in order to ensure that you have a double impact on that same legislation going through 2 chambers. And then you come here, inform the board, activates all of us to help you mobilize for this bill. And I just appreciate, because that is how it's done. It's working across with your other with the Senate to get a bipartisan bill going through. Going through. We did have a Makakilo Drive extension bill this session, and we had a emergency access drive one. And unfortunately, there was very little support because it wasn't brought to the neighborhood board. It wasn't told to the constituency up in Makakilo. It would have had a huge support if we would have known. So I just wanted to make that for the record, that you did it right. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the goal, is to work in collaboration across chambers and across party lines. So thank you.
Well, any other questions, comments, or concerns for Representative Carmen Garcia? Hearing none, thank you so much, Representative, for your good work and for being here this evening. Now let's go back for public input. We have Melanie June. Go right ahead.
Aloha board and community members, and thank you, Rep. Garcia, for those great updates. It makes my turn much, much easier. But I'm Melanie June. I'm Senator Gabbard's community liaison, sending the senators best as we continue through the 2026 legislative session. Senator Gabbard's March newsletter is out now with updates on what he's been working on at the Capitol and in the community, and I'll make sure I drop that link into the chat. I'd also like to invite everyone to his next Listen Story community meeting. That'll be on Saturday, May 16th from 9 to 10 a.m. at Kapolei High School Teachers Lounge. This will be a special meeting where a senator will provide a full wrap-up of the legislative session after it concludes on May 8th. A Zoom option will also be available, so you could just email us to RSVP. And as always, please feel free to reach out to our office if there's anything we can help with. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions back to the senator.
Mahalo, any questions, comments, or concerns for Senator Gabbard's office other than ditto from Representative Garcia's commentary? Okay. Seeing none, Chair does recognize we only have 4 minutes left. At this time, the Chair is going to open for public testimony, any of the board business items. So if there's community members that came here to testify on any of these things, please make that known to us at this time. I want to make sure that we allow you to testify. Seeing no one from the community, let's go to Dr. Dudley. Yes, go ahead. And also waiting for him to unmute yet again. So Dr. Dudley might have the last word.
I'm sorry, I didn't know my hand was up. That was from a while back. So thank you.
No problem. So, okay, with that, is there any pressing announcements from our committees that they would like to share? So let's start down the line with McFerrer with Transportation. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi there. It says here on the agenda, speed calming and safety measures. Working on that with trying to find funding right currently. What I wanted to report is that since the Middle Street or Kalihi Transit Center, the rail goes completely out there. I commute to the Capitol every day, and I am able to catch the express bus up in Makakilo Heights down to the station. I can get on the train and get down and dropped off at the statue and walk a block to my office. I'm there in an hour. Conversely, when I get off work, I walk across the street from the Capitol in front of the health department, catch one of 3 or 4 buses that are there within 5 minutes of each other, go to the station once again, get on the train, come out to Kapolei over UH, and go to my car, and I am home in an hour and 5 minutes from downtown. So I've also noticed a spectacular increase in riders, being that I sometimes don't get a seat. So anyway, that's my report on that, and people can be fairly confident that they can get downtown and be able to catch a bus from the Kalihi Transit Station and go anywhere downtown you want. There's express buses and everything else. And so now that the train goes there, I plan on commuting to work every day on public transit. So that's my report for transportation for this month. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Dudley said he had nothing to say at this time, which is, and let's go for beautification holiday. Carol England, go ahead.
Hey, now that I got the information from the mayor's office, we do have some sketching for each of the boxes. And just a little recap, we're going to tell the story of Kapolei, and that'll be in box 1. And there's 10 boxes that will end at Costco. And that's what the vision is.
Mahalo. We look forward to seeing the sketches when appropriate. And last word for the evening, Community Outreach and Education, Sheila Medeiros.
So we are part of the Prince Kohio Parade. So if you want to be part of it as with us walking, we're inviting everybody in the community. You need to show up at the Kapolei State Office Building parking lot no later than 3 p.m. So we'll have our banner, and all are welcome to join us and walk behind us. And we're going to have, are we going to have bubbles this time again? What? Okay, I'll get some. It was a blast the last time we had it, and the kids loved it. We were shooting bubbles. We were the only ones that had bubbles. It was fantastic. And if you want to participate, we do have access to the trolley. There is another unit that's participating, that if there's somebody who can't walk, please let me know and we'll get you on the trolley. Okay, thank you.
Awesome. And with that, all other business is being deferred to April. And the last announcement for the evening is our next meeting in April is on the 22nd, 2026 at 7 p.m., both at Kapolei Hale and on WebEx. And with that, our meeting is adjourned. Happy Prince Kohio Day, everyone, and have a wonderful celebration this week. Aloha.